I got these like picks made in like on Alibaba, and like they're good, except like there's like no edge on them, so there's like the scrape is like the worst. Yeah,
it's definitely a skill. I have to sit down and like practice it sometimes.
You know, well, okay. First of all, hey everybody, it's Wednesday night. Feeling good on a Wednesday.
Feeling good.
We got our good buddy Chris Caddell here from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Famous for playing with bands such as Canada's Stevie Ray Vaughan, Colin James, and of course everybody's favorite Canadian rock band, Big Wreck. So everybody, do us a favor, smash that like button, and we're gonna hang out. We're gonna drink some beer, and we're gonna talk about some gear. Imagine that, hey, like gear and beer. That we'll drink beer and talk about gear.
Gear part of it.
I do think we've never talked about this, and the fact that you just brought it up made me think we should. The pick scrape, like you're talking about, or the pick slide, or whatever you call it, right?
Pick scrape, I guess.
What I noticed is, my problem is, I think very like, I would say like linearly when it comes to like time. If I'm in a certain time, it's hard for me to change anything that goes outside of that time. So if I'm doing like, I'll feel like I got to move at a certain speed, right? It makes sense with it, right?
Yeah.
And what I found is the people that I see who do great pick slides all the time, it almost always is way slower than what you're expecting.
Yeah. And getting it in. Like,
like.
Where am I here? I can't do it clean. You know, you're gonna kind of dig under the low string.
Yep. Yeah, so
it's so stupid, but I love doing it.
All of those like any of those dumb guitar tricks are the most fun thing ever. Like doesn't matter what you're playing. So
anyway, I wouldn't get away with that in a Colin gig, but
no,
I can do that.
Not
in
as
Big
much.
Wreck a lot.
Yeah. I was really shocked at because you listen to like Big Wreck's earlier music, and I don't ever really think of it being like super heavy, right? Until you see Big Wreck, or I mean the later records are all way heavier guitar tones. But you see you guys live and you're like, holy shit, the guitars are way heavier, and both you and Ian can shred. So it's, you know.
He's a shredder. I just keep up.
Yeah.
I let him shred. if I get a solo, I'm not exactly going top speed. Probably half is what he could do. So.
Yeah, well,
That's
I mean,
fine.
that's still significantly better than what I'm going to be doing. So, so I'd love to see in the comments from you guys, like, when you guys do, well, first of all, do you call it the pick scrape or the pick slide? What do you call it?
The scrape.
The scrape,
I say it's the scrape.
That's what I've always called it. Luke?
I call it the slide because the scrape to me is like the rake kind of thing.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's more of a sweep, though.
Yeah. You know, like I said as we were talking.
Here we go.
Like I said, Chris, as we were talking, I don't do things properly when I play guitar. So.
Well, welcome to the club.
Yeah. So I also, I'm like, it's really dumb because I have like thousands and thousands of guitar picks in this building. But like it has to be completely destroyed before I will ever consider throwing it away.
Me
like,
too, yeah.
Like I can put like a big gouge in. I'll be like, it's still good.
Yeah,
Like,
that's still fine.
Yeah,
Or
it's fine.
put it up against a wall and shave it down a bit.
I actually when I played in a tiny like pop punk hard rock band in and around Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta in the like early 2000s, and I legitimately prided myself that in like probably 250 shows I had used the same pick. I had the same Jazz 3 pick that I had used for every show, and I kept it in my wallet. And I would have the like Dunlop 7.3s. That if people asked me for a pick, I would give them the Dunlop 7.3, and I had my one Jazz 3 that was just like worn down to a nub, and like I never once thought about like, oh, there's a reason that like people actually get new picks.
Use fresh ones.
Yeah.
But there is a sweet spot though. Like I don't really like a fresh pick. Like and Ian does the same thing. He'll like warm up and do sound check on one.
Yep.
And then use that for the show. Then it's like kind of perfect for showtime.
Do you guys use like personalized picks that you throw out to the audience, or do you?
I do. I used to. I got the sharper version of that, those flow ones.
Oh yeah.
But I've used the yellow.
Yeah, 7.3 Tortex.
D'Addario makes these, and they put my little logo on it.
Nice.
They're the same.
Yep.
So I just always go back to them. Like I was using the sharp ones for a while, and then they just didn't work for everything. Like when you're playing acoustic, it's kind of.
Yep.
They're not great for that, and I like the one-stop shopping.
Yeah.
So yeah, I used to do that though. Like use the flows and then have my little signature picks
that you throw out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost always use like the Jazz like max grip, or we got a bunch made that of course we took the table that we normally have here, so I don't know where any of my stuff is, but I got some made that were supposed to be like a Jazz 3. But instead of the max grip, I had them made with the Rev logo, where the Rev logo is like...
Is the grip?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So it was cool, but they made them like just slightly too small. Like they're just a hair smaller than a Jazz 3. And it's enough that like it feels weird to me.
Yeah.
Especially like when I was playing lots of like hard rock stuff, so I would do lots of like pinch harmonics, or like... a lot of that. So when you're used to a pick being a certain size, like if it gets a little bit smaller, all of a sudden everything feels a little bit strange, right?
They make a huge difference. I've tried every single kind of pick. Like Ian uses basically rocks.
Yeah.
And pointy, and I tried to do it. It works for him. But I always say that he does things like that just to make guitar hard for him again.
Yeah.
But it's like I just can't get along with them. And then I just go back to this and I'm like, okay. But it's almost like you use those picks and you do your stupid metronome stuff.
Yeah.
And then you go back to one of these and it's like, oh, I still have all that stuff, but I don't have this tiny little pick in my hand. And
Yep.
I
tried, like we had like wind spear picks, which were like really like sharp, like a really sharp point on it, and they're really hard material, whatever they are. I don't remember what the material's called or anything, but we got a bunch of them when we did the G3 pedals, I think, and we were supposed to give them out to everybody who bought a G3 pedal, but we forgot, so we just had like 400 of these picks that I think the guy makes them like one at a time kind of thing. So they're not
just
cheap.
Cutting out credit cards.
Yeah, pretty much. But like those, like the difference on like a pick scrape with, well, hold on, I'm gonna grab one because I know where I have one. But the difference between the pick scrape with that versus like these Gear and Beer ones that I got.
I feel like Garth when Wayne left. Having a really good time.
You're like, I don't know what to do. What do I do with my hands? I don't know what to do with my hands. We had Bruce Jacobs on here. I don't know if you know Bruce. He's Sam, who's my like.
I met Sam this summer actually. Finally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were in Niagara Falls, I believe.
So these are the ones that they made for us.
Okay.
For those of you that can maybe see that at home, maybe not.
That's a shredder.
Yeah, but like listen to the difference on the pick scrape on that one. like night and day compared to this cheap pick. Like,
That's the trick. You gotta get under the low string and then scrape across the rest of it.
so. Anyway, so good picks
Welcome
do
to
matter.
Pick Scrapes.
Yes. What I found interesting, we had Bruce on here. Bruce is like the best local guitar tech setup guy in the city. And Bruce was on here teaching us all, how to care for our guitars as we head into the winter, which that was a few years ago, and we have all ignored his advice ever since then.
Right.
But
It's basically keep them in the case, right?
yeah, which we do a great job of. Like, I picked up my Anderson yesterday, and I went like this, and I was like, nope. Nope, that needs to be rehumidified and put away probably until May.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit my mic there.
But he had some like Flow Max or some sort of weird pick, and Bruce is awesome because he's the guy that will bring out or will, somebody will be at the shop that he's working at showing him like an evidence audio cable or something where it's like, here's a $200 patch cable, and showing you that you can hear a difference between, a 20, well, no longer 25, a $50 patch cable and a $200 patch cable.
Right.
But he was like, well, what do you use for a pick? And I'm like, whichever one's closest right now is normally the one.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you need to try this. And I'm like, man, I don't know, there's no real difference. And he's like, oh, no. He's like, listen. And then we tried like this green pick that he had against like the 1mm Dunlop. And I was like, holy shit, I can instantly hear how much brighter everything sounds from a pick, which never in my, 30 years of playing guitar would I have ever thought that, your pick would make any difference besides, okay, how does it feel in your hand and how hard is it? That's it. But no, apparently pick plastic matters, but not so much to me.
It's crazy. It's
like
there's because I've literally tried everything. I used to just go and buy every type of pick and every style and pointiness and not pointiness, and I just always go back to these. And like I use the round part of the pick sometimes too.
Okay.
It just gives it kind of a smoother if you're strumming.
Yep.
That sort of stuff.
I only play here now or at the NAMM show, so it really doesn't matter what I use.
Hey, it's whatever makes you happy. That's what I've.
And that's the rev one I was talking about that we did.
Right.
That it's nice because it has like the max grip thing.
Yeah.
But again, it's like just slightly smaller than the Jazz 3, so it feels a little weird. Yeah, eventually small. We'll put, for who asked, we'll put the Gear and Beer picks up for sale on the website. But about the same time as we get the hockey jerseys up and the other stuff that we said we would do like the last couple of years. So yeah, they're anyway. These picks are cool, but they're I don't know. I feel weird. I feel like I'm going to hurt myself because it's so pointy and it's really hard material.
Yeah, I can't get down with really hard. It's got to have a bit of flex to it,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've tried. I'm sure you've tried a regular yellow.
Yeah, these are the like Gear and Beer ones. This is probably 1 mil.
I think these are 88s or something. Of course. There's an example of an old dusty pick, and even though I have hundreds of them, jeepers, I don't have no fresh ones in here. How many dead picks can I pull out of my pocket? There we go.
These are shake out your washing machine like the
exactly.
The lint trap and catch 150 picks that are all beat to shit. So
it's like it's still good.
Yeah.
I don't throw them out. I put them in a coin dish on my desk.
Yeah, I have.
What are you doing?
I have like a big. It's like a tin that like tea. Like loose tea came in, like a big David's tea thing that's right full.
Right.
And I collect them now from artists, right? So I will keep your pick now that you've given.
I'll
put it in my.
I'll leave these too.
My buddy.
Finally grabbed some freshies.
Nice. My buddy Steve from Australia collects guitar picks, and I stole his idea from him and started collecting, stuff over the last, I don't know, I mean, I've always had a ton of picks, but yeah, I just started collecting more and more of them.
Right.
So, and I put him in like a binder with like it has like the
like a
clear coin
coin?
envelopes.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And then,
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And then I have something that when I'm old and no one wants to visit me in the nursing home anymore, I can look back and be like, what the hell is this stuff?
If my wife is watching, that's a great gift idea.
Well, that's what my mom wanted to know what to get me for Christmas. And I told my wife, I'm like, tell her to buy me this stuff. And then I was like, I'll just buy it and she can give it to me. So I bought all of it. And then my wife was like, yeah, I didn't think you'd actually do it. So, well, she's like, your mom's getting you something else. And, okay.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But yeah,
we always find it hard to get each other stuff. So
yeah. Derek, can we have Derek hold the red guitar to see how it looks when he gets his Fiesta Red Strat in a few years? So this is not Fiesta Red,
now
guys.
it's Dakota Red.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
We're joking because Schecter was super nice and we borrowed. There you go. We borrowed. This is my #1 guitar. This is a Nick Johnson USA Custom Shop Schecter.
My buddy Ricky has a couple of those. Ricky Tilo.
Yeah, I met him.
Oh yeah.
One time. He will have no idea who I was.
Oh yeah.
But I met him. I was flying from LA to Nashville after the LA Amp show, and I had a mono dual bag, and so did he. Oh yeah. So this is the guitar.
orange.
This is the guitar that they lent us, and it's orange. And I don't really love orange, but I saw it and I was like, it looks awesome. And then when we went to return stuff, Schecter was just like, well, you can just keep it. And I'm like, okay, deal. So
is that all rosewood?
this one is, yes, I think. This is the
That's a
import
nice
model.
one.
There's no high E string because we broke it twice at NAMM, and we have to. I think the saddle's got something
Gotta do
sharp on it.
something about that.
But for like, I think they're like US like $8.99 maybe. Like they're not expensive.
Really?
Yeah. They feel great. The springs are real noisy right now. Like you can hear it like
In the back?
Yeah.
Oh, I have stuff
Yeah. In yours.
every time. Yeah, we put foam through the springs, and then put foam behind them too.
Really?
Because with like the gain with Big Rack, it's
Yeah.
like I have to have that too. You'll hear it. Like,
Yep.
You stop and it's like, what's that? Ching,
Yeah.
ching. What is that? And then Ian just comes over and goes, do it again. Okay.
Nice.
Stuff it with some foam.
Oh, Neil just said Ricky just got to play SNL with Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was flying and I saw him get on the plane and he also had a mono bag. So I was like, okay, it's another guitar player. I have no idea who he was, but he had a Canadian flag on his mono bag, and I'm like, oh, he's Canadian. And so anyway, he when we got off the plane, he's like, hey, you got a gig here? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm playing with Lady Gaga. I'm like, oh. And I said, you're from Canada? And he's like, yeah, I'm from Toronto. I said, oh, I'm from Winnipeg. And he's like, oh, cool. He's like, do you know Joey Landreth? And I'm like, yes, I know Joey Landreth. so
We had Joey for a little while.
Yes.
On the off
Yes.
season.
Yeah. For like 2 years.
Yeah, it was great. We did it.
Yeah.
We had a gig at the Orba Room, like first Thursday of the month, sort of thing, and
Yep.
got to play with him.
Yeah, dude,
It was so amazing.
I saw some footage of him, and you might have been in it as well. And Andy Wood showed up one night, and I saw the footage from Andy being there.
Him and Ian showed up.
Yep. Just monsters.
Yeah.
Like
It's a great night.
Andy Wood is a terrifying guitar player.
Yeah,
I mean, so is Ian, and so is Joey, and but Andy is.
Yeah. I think I had a white custom shop Strat.
Yeah.
And I use 11s, which are pretty big, and the action on it is notoriously always super high.
Okay.
So after he played, he was like, that guitar is tough to play, man. Like,
Nice.
well, I'm just used to it. That's all. It's just the way it goes.
Yep.
I'm not going for low action.
Winnipeg, do you know Pat Wright?
Oh, yeah, Pat, right?
I don't
Is he
know
back
Pat
here now?
Wright.
Yeah, I think he might be back in Toronto again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my story of the time I met Ricky.
That's hilarious. That's Noel.
Nice.
I know Noel. Yes, Noel, I know Pat Wright. Oh, yeah.
Oh, and sorry.
I do love the orange, though, I'd say.
Yeah,
I'd
I thought
say
it.
yes.
I thought it looked cool, and I was super happy when they were like, "Yeah, just keep it." I'm like, "Thank you." But like Schecter, we do a lot of stuff with them, and they were part of our 12 Days of Christmas giveaway this year, and they gave us one of those guitars to give away. They're good friends, and I have this one. Sam has the SSS version of this. It's awesome. I also have the USA Custom Shop Telly version of this, which is also really cool. I haven't played it much because I got it. I think sometime just before Christmas I got it.
Right.
And I haven't played that much guitar because of NAMM prep and then being gone for NAMM.
Yeah.
And I'm still not used to. The Telly has a humbucker in the neck, and a single coil in the bridge, and I'm not used to that yet, so I got to figure out.
Well, this has got the phase.
Nice.
Phase flip.
Yeah.
Push is kind of great.
Tell us about this guitar, because I've only owned one Sir. Like I was telling you just before, I had the Modern Plus that I traded a dude named Keith down in Texas for when I was at the Dallas Guitar Show. And it was cool, but it was actually weird that like the way that my Schecter, like the neck has kind of glossed over from, I just haven't taken like any steel wool or anything to it to clean it up, but just from the amount that I've played it or other people have played it. This Sir was the first Sir I had played that the neck was completely glossed, and I think it was from people playing it more than, like I don't think they lacquered it.
Oh yeah.
But it was kind of sticky then, like a Fender, and I was like, this is the opposite of what a Sir should be. And then I just found that I was never playing it, and I have a lot of guitars, so I was like, I'm gonna move this one along until I find the right one.
Yeah. Well, they let me order this. I don't know if they do it for everybody, but it's basically both of Ian's signature Strats mushed into one. Yeah. And sort of a Doyle Bramhall, when he played with Roger Waters, that Strat that he has, like that's Dakota Red and matching headstock and stuff. So I wanted the pickups from his white one that has a maple neck. So I wanted that pickup configuration, and I wanted a rosewood neck, and I wanted it red. Nice. And luckily they did it. So it ended up, I didn't really intentionally order an all rosewood neck, but that's what I got. And it's kind of worked out to be a great accident. I really love it. Feels awesome. And I was commenting that like it has kind of the V shape to the neck. Yeah, it's Ian's like signature carve or whatever. Yeah. And it's super comfortable. Yeah. It's pretty great. It quickly became my number one. And there's nothing wrong with Dakota Red. It's only Fiesta Red. I have a theory that like only guitar players 50 and over like Fiesta Red, and that I've come to terms with the fact that once I hit 50, I'm pretty much doomed to want to buy a Fiesta Red Strat. Yeah. No, I don't like Fiesta Red either because they can be too pink sometimes. Yeah, it looks like Campbell's tomato soup to me. Yeah. Like kind of orangey, but kind of ready. If you put milk in it. Yeah, exactly. Like if you make it look a little bit barfy, like then it's Fiesta Red. Yeah. Yeah, when I first got it brought to a gig, everybody's like, "Oh my God, that red is like it's like hooker lipstick," and they're like, then they started saying, "Yeah, call it the Turkish hooker." And I'm like, "What? Why?" And then I was like, "I cannot name my guitar the Turkish hooker," although that's hilarious. So I'm like, "Oh, what's the name of Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman?" And I text my wife, and she's like, "It's Vivian." So nice. Now her name's Vivian, and I got a little Vivian sticker on there. Forever to be known as Vivian the Turkish hooker. Yeah, exactly. I mean, some of the guys may still call it the hooker. Nice. Hey, Ronnie, how's it going, dude? Ronnie Ladderbrooks is one of our like local like virtuoso shredder guitar players. Awesome. All around great dude. So we were gonna. I mean, we got derailed talking about picks and his guitar and other stuff, but let's talk a little bit about your pedal board.
And
Yeah.
Mr. JW J71 says, "What's it like to be over 50?" I'm not over 50 yet, so you'll know when I show up here with a Fiesta Red Strat.
Yeah, it's
You'll
like,
know. You'll know the day.
somebody's
Yeah.
had a birthday.
Yeah, exactly. So,
That's funny.
all right. So, you have a proper touring pedal board.
Yeah.
Which is always a blast to see. You've got the Gig Rig G2.
Yeah.
It's great. I have the Gig Rig G3 here somewhere that I've had for a year and a half and have still not built a board to put it on.
Oh, really?
So I'm currently using one of the mini NAMM boards that we use because that's what was convenient for today. So,
You got it.
yeah.
You got a little above camera. Cool.
Oh yeah, we have all the fun little toys for.
Yeah. This was my big rec board, and I was using the generator.
Yep.
With it, and had the MIDI going, and it was switching channels and stuff like that, and switching all this. It's like the things that this can do is
It's awesome.
Insane.
Yep.
And it seems more daunting than what it could be.
Yep.
I guess so. Like, I basically I just go from like clean to dirty.
Yep.
And then dry and wet. Like
Okay.
I'll CD means clean delay.
Yep.
So that's just the Flint, which is basically just on reverb most of the time.
Okay.
And the HX effects.
Nice.
So whatever I want on there, super clean, nothing going on.
Nice.
But I'm never really not using reverb or delay on a super clean channel. So I didn't put a dry one for that. And then I just, add that 808, which I spend a lot of time, because I know I was talking about this last time, that pedal cleans up really well.
Yep.
So, and a lot of times when I'm playing something clean, I don't want it to be super clean.
Yep.
I like, a dialed back overdrive sound.
Yeah.
Like if
Edge
I
of
had a
breakup.
cranked amp and I had to just use my volume the whole time. That's basically what I'm trying to do.
Yep.
And if I got to dig it,
Yeah.
do it.
Yep.
That sort of stuff. And then then if I want delay on it.
Yep.
And then I can have like a ton of stuff up here
Right.
at the ready. And then if I go, super dry, and then I gotta go.
Right.
And it's all there.
That's awesome.
So then it's overdrive with delay. And then this one is, I call it the medium, which is the overdrive, and the Rev G3.
Yeah, the G3.
Yeah. So that's kind of like my...
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then, wet with that too.
Nice.
If I want. I don't use that one a lot. I guess if I'm soloing or something. And then, heavy. That's this one.
Yeah.
Same with delay. And then this is like solo in that mode. So basically just adds the juice.
Cool.
I like to call it.
The juice.
Just a clean boost.
Yep.
And then same with, that's just the tube screamer. And the overdrive and the boost and these two. Like this is on every channel pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah.
Just because it's just reverb basically. So that just gives this one little extra thing. Wait, that one. Okay, two little extra things. What else is going in? Yeah, 6, 5, and 4. So kind of a cleaner, bluesier.
Yeah.
And then
Awesome.
And then basically like these are all just pedals on or off. So I'll use that mostly like when we're doing like Into the Mystic or something like that. I basically just want that clean sort of tone and then add the comp.
Right.
And then I get a solo, so I'll just do the tube screamer just for a little extra. And then when I want to get out of it, I just step back on that, and we're
Nice.
so I don't have to turn everything off and back on.
Yeah, there's
It's
no-
just one-stop shop.
No pedal dance.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just like little stuff. I've gotten into the rotary thing lately. This kind of adds a little
Yeah.
super slow.
The 80s, like, chorusy rotary effect thing is coming back in a massive way
yeah.
everywhere right now, too.
I don't really like chorus per se, but I like that little rotary.
Neither do
sort of
I.
thing. Yeah. I could live without chorus.
Sam loves it. Luke's shaking his head at
Oh,
us.
yeah?
Like, they're,
The
yeah.
chorusmen?
They're
Oh yeah.
huge.
Derek hates it. He was
Ah.
telling me on Sunday when I was playing.
He was playing at church, and like I was at church, and then after it ended, I was talking to him, and I was like, the end there about that chorus on that patch, it was just it's like, no, it's too much,
I
man.
don't know. It sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, chorus. I don't know. Maybe I haven't spent enough time with choruses. I had an Ibanez chorus with just the two knobs on it.
Is that pink? Is that the pink one or?
Yeah, something like that. And that sounded really good.
Or
But
they
it would drop
might have
the
been blue, yeah.
It would drop the sound like at least 5 dB every time you stepped on it. So
You know what? My
gotta go.
Strymon El Capistans.
Yeah.
Terrible for. This is for sure the second, maybe third one that I've had. Like, we have them on a couple of the boards that go to NAMM, and yeah, they drop it like 10 dB, and a bunch of the top end
Yeah.
kind of gets shunted off too, and you're like,
Right.
why did everything get dark and quiet?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I find the Flint's fine though, like that.
Sean, what's going on, man? Mr. Sean Tubbs.
Tabs.
Yeah. Saw you in Nashville with Big Rec. Yeah,
Yeah.
the best.
I remember it. Yeah, that's fun. It's always so nerve-wracking when you know there's like probably 40 Seans in the audience.
Yeah, it's all guitar players.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Extra pressure.
Yeah.
I'm not going to move around much. I'm going to make sure I do my parts.
Yeah.
Guitar robot. I will play.
That's awesome. Ronnie was asking, who are some of your biggest influences players or influencers / players?
I really love Mark Knopfler.
Okay.
Like Dire Straits stuff. It's pretty much my go-to just to listen to and everything. I just find him fascinating, playing with your fingers the whole time and,
Yeah.
Super clean stuff. And I love watching the Alchemy video.
Okay.
It's like a live concert
Yep.
from like 1980 something. And his board is like twice the size of this.
Yeah.
Like it's insane, but like you listen to it and it's like it's just super clean and like
Yeah.
a little bit of delay. I think he might have a little light rotary going on or something like that, but like it's just so like
Yeah.
I love his playing. It's
Yeah.
the craziest. Him and Dole Bramhall Jr. I love all of his records, and his playing with Clapton and Roger Waters is just incredible.
Yeah.
I got to see him in Ontario one time. It was a tiny little place, Peter's Players.
Okay.
You heard of that place? It's like maybe 100 people fit into it.
Oh, wow.
And he was unbelievable. I got to go to dinner with him and
That's
stuff
awesome.
like that. It was, yeah. I guess those two. I got to put Ian and Colin in there because I've basically had free lessons from them for a long time. And I've always loved their stuff. Like, I grew up listening to Colin
Yeah.
and Ian, and, the fact that I get to hang out with them is pretty crazy still.
I mean, Big Rec's been around for a long time, but Colin James, I remember. Like I said, I joked about the Stevie Ray Vaughan of Canada because I remember when he was actually being pushed as the Stevie Ray Vaughan of Canada in had to have been early 90s.
Yeah.
Because it was, because Just Came Back.
His first record is 88.
I was going to say, I started playing guitar when I was 10, and I remember hearing that song, like, within the first few years of playing guitar, being like, who is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear
You're
that
like,
at first, like,
Stevie Ray Vaughan with a lot of distortion. Yeah. So good.
What was that? Why is this on the radio? You know,
Yep.
like, it was awesome.
Oh, it was so good. I remember seeing him at like Long and McQuaid had him in for like a small clinic thing.
Right.
And this was in the 90s, so there was like, honestly, if there was like 50 people there, I would have been amazed. Because
Yeah.
it wasn't on a weekend, like it was on a weekday. And like
Right.
I'm sure he was playing a show here, and they were like, "You're stopping at Long and McQuaid for an hour this afternoon, and then you're going back."
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, they don't
That'd
do
be
that very
tough
much.
to do.
What's that?
Like those
Oh,
clinics, I don't know if I could do it. Like, I'm not much of a, I call it music store player anyway. Like, if I'm just sitting here, I can't
Yeah.
think of anything.
yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, put me on stage and I'll go for it.
I just was at a meeting with Guitar Center talking to them about like potential like in-store display thing for Rev in the States, and I was talking to them about the fact that like we should, you know, utilize the fact that the load boxes are in the amps, and we should have like headphone stuff. I said, because you know, there's two types of players that walk into your store. There's like probably the average player who like might be terrible or might be amazing, but either way doesn't want to make a bunch of noise in your store,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, and then there's the guitar player who, same thing, might be terrible, most likely not amazing, but maybe a shredder, but wants everyone to hear because he's auditioning for everyone who walked into the store.
Yeah.
And I said, like, I can't handle when I walk into a store and that guy is just like shredding. I think he annoys me more. Sorry if you're him, but or her, but they annoy me more than the guy who can't play who's doing it.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, we get it, you're really good, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I just want to be able to talk to the store guy about whatever guitar or pedal that I'm here to talk to him about, and I can't because I can just hear you.
All I can hear is your
I can hear a
version
flurry
of
of sweeps and
Eruption.
notes. Yeah.
working
So-
it out over there.
So I was like, if you had headphones, then you can kind of at least appease all the people. Because I get self-conscious when I'm playing in places like that too. Because the same thing, I'm like, man, I can't think of what I should play, and I end up resulting back to like. Because I just want to hear like, how does the piece of gear actually sound, and how does it feel? Like, how's it compressing and.
Yeah,
and-
like if I pick a guitar, any guitar up off the wall, the litmus test is strumming it
Yeah.
a G or an A,
Yeah.
not plugged in at all.
Yeah.
Then if it's like, okay, I hear something there, then I'll want to plug it in. But even when I do that, like, I know what a deluxe sounds like.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
was
that's
one
what
of
you're
the-
gonna get to plug into.
One of the things I really noticed, I don't know if Sean is still watching, but one of the things I really noticed when working with Sean was that when he would test things, I noticed that he had like kind of like a 3-chord progression that he plays, and he finger picks part of it. Like, I won't play it right, but like he does a very specific thing, and I hear it every time he tests any piece of gear. And I don't know, Sean, if you're watching, I don't know if you're intentionally doing this, but I can tell it's one of your things that's like, it's a thing that's the identifier for you, right? Like that, how those things sound, feel, how notes trail off, that you're listening and you're probably, feeling for, okay, how does this all feel? And is it working the way that I want it to?
Yeah, it's kind of the litmus test. You don't want to be like, test something out and be wailing on way up here when you just need to know what it sounds like there. Like, that's your standard, like, where do we go from here sort of thing.
If I'm trying guitars, honestly, all I really care is how the neck feels.
Yeah.
Virtually everything else, I'm like, if I don't like the pickups, I'll change the pickups.
Yeah.
Does it feel good? Does the neck, like, is it staying in tune after
Yeah.
5 minutes? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's
Give
stable.
Give it a couple big bends and
Yeah, exactly. Some boomer bends and see what happens. Can you scroll up there, Luke? Somebody asked a question about, okay, you guys talk about the 90s Gibsons being really awesome guitars. What about Fender? Is there any time that they seem to be better than, other than the 50s and 60s? I bet you have more experience with vintage Fenders than I do.
not vintage, but I do have a 2000, I think it's a 2002 custom shop
Okay.
that is one of the nicest Strats I've ever played.
Yeah.
And I played some vintage ones of the same sort of. It's 56 relic
Yep.
and maple neck, and I don't even usually like maple necks that much.
Okay.
But it was like my Wayne's World guitar. I went and
Yeah.
visited it for like 2 years, literally at Long McQuaid, and
Nice.
they were finally like, I was like, I think I'm gonna buy it. And like the whole store was like, what? What is he doing? Yeah.
What is your layaway
But
plan?
I think, yeah, yeah, exactly. But I think those early custom shops are really, really good.
Yeah.
They seemed to switch after a while. Like I didn't really enjoy playing them into the 2010s and stuff like that.
I have to admit, I have not picked a new Fender up off of the rack really in the last 10 years and been like, oh, this is amazing. I find that out of all the guitars, like if you look at, Fenders being copied or Gibsons being copied, I feel like Gibson's still like a good Les Paul. I hate to say it, but a good SG. Like,
They're rare though.
yeah, the good
They're
ones
tough
of
to
those
find.
are still better than good Les Pauls are still better than almost every other single cut. I have a couple of PRSs. They're awesome. There's just something about a really good Les Paul that it's just more aggressive. It sounds gnarlier. I mean, PRSs are way more stable. They're way prettier most of the time too. Like fit and finish on PRS is way better. Like I pulled that Tremonti down yesterday I had to write a riff for, or like write part of a riff for a video that we have to do. And like I went to grab guitars and I was like, this needs to be heavier because it's for the G4 pedal. And I'm like, okay, I want like, Nickelback, like, down a full step and then drop it.
Right. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I grabbed that PRS, and as soon as I plugged it in, like the weather here is shit right now. The guitars are all like
It's cold.
It's cold and it's dry. So like I said about my Anderson, like you run your hand along here, there's fret sprout all the way along it, and because it's been out of its case too long. But I mean that PRS, I picked it up. It's in tune. Nothing has moved. It's just perfect. Where Gibsons, I picked them up. Most likely they're not going to be that stable.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, a great Les Paul, I still think trumps almost all of the other single cuts that I've tried.
Yeah.
But Strats, absolutely not. I've never picked up a great Fender and thought it was better than the high-end Sir, Schecter, like any of the, like Tom Anderson, James Tyler, like any of the, S-type guitars, I feel like Fender doesn't live up to everybody else who's doing it.
They're just a different thing. Like I have two custom shops. One's the 60s and one's the 56. And they're both great, but they kind of do that Strat thing. Like you mentioned, like the Schecters and the Sewers, it's not really that Strat thing.
Right.
It's something else.
Right.
Which, when you're recording, it's a way different thing. You can get away with it live. I use this as a Les Paul and a Strat.
Right.
Because I have to fly somewhere and I can't take a million guitars. It's
Yeah.
just the way it goes. And I'm not going to fly my Les Paul in a gig bag.
Right.
A double case. I'll put these two in a double case, like a mono bag all day long. I've never had a problem, knock on wood. And, but I've done it for years. I'm on like my third or fourth mono case.
Right.
They always make it. But,
Yeah.
so basically the reason I wanted to have this is because I can be a Les Paul or a Strat at the same time.
Yeah.
In one stop. But it's not a Strat or a Les Paul.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yep. Yeah, no, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
My beef with like Fender stuff is the necks don't feel good. Like there's too much lacquer on most of the new stuff. I will say some of the shops that I visited on the way to and from NAMM, some of the newer Fender stuff did feel better, and like I was impressed. Luke typed it in there, just didn't hit enter, but like the new Jack White triple caster,
Oh, yeah.
Guitar is super ugly, but
Yeah.
so is everything Jack White.
Right. Yeah, I think
Touches.
I saw you doing that.
Yeah, but I will say the neck on it did feel really great. So, there's a plus there. My only U.S. Fender, the only Strat I have left is a 87 American Standard,
Yeah.
and it's great.
Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know.
Those older standards are pretty good.
I was gonna say the E series, like the serials all started with E from
that's the 80s.
80s.
Right? Yeah.
Like late 80s, early 90s. Those were good. Also the 90 would have been like around 91. Was it the Strat Ultra or the Strat Deluxe? But the ones
the
that
2 humbuckers in it?
No, it was 3 singles, but it was the lace sensors, and they had the graphite locking machine heads and the graphite nut.
Right.
Those all feel great. They sound a little 80s, like the lace sensors sound pretty 80s to me. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're like, there was reds and golds, and I don't remember I don't remember what all the lace sensor shit is, but
I never really got in. I didn't spend enough time. I didn't really start playing until it was 94.
Yeah.
Around there. So it was kind of getting past the lace sensor.
I got my first guitar in 90. I was born in 80, got my first guitar in 90, and then started playing, actually.
80 as well?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
so we're both guessing Fiesta Red Strats.
Yeah, I guess
6 years.
Soon. Yeah. I don't think I'll join you on that one. Mine might be I don't know, probably a Taylor or something.
Oh, I already have that. So. Nice. So I actually started like trying at guitar in like probably like 93 to 94, the same time. I got
like high school when you saw your friends.
Yeah, and I got a
don't mind if I do.
Yeah. Get after it. I got a Squire 2, which is a Korean Squire in 94. And that's what, like, my first guitar was a Kramer XL, which was cool. Like, it was a HSS, maple neck, like nothing super special, but like easy to play electric guitar. And I got it used in 90, and then in 94, I got this Squire 2 Strat that was not Fiesta Red, but it was like kind of close to Dakota Red.
Yeah. There's a kind of like in between red.
Kind of candy apple, but not. Wasn't like metallic-y like most of the candy apple red stuff is.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I got that guitar, and that's when I met. I have an older brother that actually Luke's dad. The guitar player, my brother plays drums, and the guitar player he was playing with started teaching me guitar lessons and started teaching me like just little things like how to play, like 12-bar blues, and then how to improvise over. I remember like the second lesson I had, he recorded on a cassette tape Little Wing, and then taught me the E minor pentatonic scale, and was like, all right, now your job this week is to go make something that sounds cool out of that pattern over top of this.
Yeah.
And and that was it. Like from then on, I was hooked because I figured out how to do like.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Over top of Little Wing. I'm still not there yet.
When I got the.
Yeah. Yeah.
Turn the rotary off, but
Yeah.
like that was my that I was like, or when he goes down here first.
Yeah.
I just love that song. It's a lifetime to figure that song out.
Yeah.
You'll never get it.
No. You'll get like little parts of it that will sound right. That'll be enough for you to be like, oh, there it is. Or like the first time I learned the like.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah. The first time you figure that out, or the like, yeah. Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, that's the that same "Don't Let Me Down" intro.
Yep.
Like, oh yeah. Like Hendrix does that. Anytime he plays like an A-shaped thing, it's always there's
Yeah.
your C, there's your B flat. You know, Wayne
Yeah.
Cries Mary. He always does that.
Yep.
That's his thing. Like, it's hard not to do that with every single one of those chords.
It sounds so good.
And Colin and I end up going for that same riff all the time, and
Yeah.
I can kind of hear him going. I'm like, I was gonna do that.
It all just feels so good because it flows so naturally, right? Like,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I was kind of the same, that I started in the 90s, but I probably went kind of the opposite direction that you did, where you actually went and learned to like actually play and like make a profession out of it, where I did go way more down the road of like, I just played in a, pop punk and hard rock band that like everything was either, power chords or bar chords, pretty easy stuff, but did become really obsessed with tones and gear and like wanting to collect stuff, not just chase down a sound. I went through the phase of like, okay, I want to chase down the Stevie sound, so let me try to get, a Strat with Texas specials in it, and let me get the proper tube screamer. Yeah. And then you realize, and like tried playing a Strat with 13s on it, and then learned very quickly, I am never going to sound like this, and I'm killing my hands, and all motivation I have to play the guitar by doing this.
I went to 13s for a minute there, and I remember like mid-gig, just my hand just stopped and like cramped.
Cheers, everybody.
And it was just like, it's like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's like my hand was just saying, this is a bad idea. So I went back to 11s.
I'm still not in the place of like, I have some friends that they're killer guitar players. They're playing 9s, and I still like, I'm not criticizing any of you guys that play 9s, because like, I know guys that sound amazing playing them, and I'm not trying to say like, oh, you're a sissy of a guitar player if you don't play at least 10s or something thicker. I just have always found that like, I kind of strangle the neck, not so much playing here, but if I go play live anywhere, I'm so worried about missing anything that I grip really tight, especially playing like hard rock stuff.
Yeah.
So I found like I was over, like kind of pushing and like pushing things out of intonation by pushing too hard. And I found that with lighter strings, it was way worse. And then it sounded like thin and shitty.
Yeah.
And the thicker I went, the more I went up, the less I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had that. And even with 11s, I still have that problem. Like, it's something I had to consciously lighten up on things with, especially with big records, like, because we're doing pretty intricate stuff and there's no room for error.
Yeah.
And I tend to dig too hard with my right hand too.
Yeah.
So, like, lightening up on that has been another thing
I was really bad for that, and I played, like you talked about going to visit that custom shop Strat. For me, I was a big Van Halen fan, so for me it was at first the Ernie Ball Music Man was my holy grail guitar.
Right.
And then in the like, it must have been like 96, Eddie came out with the Wolfgang, and I was like, well, I guess that's one I'm getting when I can get one. I remember going and like same thing. I would go visit. They had a red one and a black one, I think, at St. John's Music here in Winnipeg, and I like the only one I wanted was the amber one. Like I wouldn't buy any other color. So I remember going in and telling them like, hey, if you get an amber one, can I leave my number and you'll call me? And they're like, sure. And 2 years later, I showed up there, and the guy running it in Winnipeg here was like, oh, hey, he's like, I was going to call you tomorrow. He's like, we just got the guitar you want in. And I was like, what? And he goes and he pulls it out of it was still in the cardboard box. He pulls it out of the box and opens the case, and there's an amber archtop USA PV Wolfgang. And I was like, oh, that's it. And I'm like, okay. And I mean, I was 18 at the time. Because like it was 2 years, like I'd been looking at them in like 96, and then when I went in 98, and I was like, okay, how do I do this? I've got $500, and back then they were like 2,500, which in today's dollars, I think I made $6 an hour at the time, and minimum wage now
Right.
is 15.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, how's this gonna work?
Yeah.
So
$2,500 was like
yeah, so much money.
crazy.
So I remember they were like, well, we offer financing if you want to finance it, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, how much per month and how long? And it ended up being like $90 a month for 2 years if I put down a certain amount. So I paid way too much money in interest to buy this guitar, but
Right.
bought my dream guitar. And it pains me to think of I could have bought a car for
Right.
what I bought
Yeah,
that guitar
yeah.
for at the time. But it was a Floyd Rose, which I only ever used for the fine tuning system. Like I never really used the bar on it. But same thing. I would hit so hard that there was almost no show that I played where I didn't cut this part of my knuckle, like skin it
Yeah.
on strings, and there'd be blood on my guitar after every show. And it's finally to the point where it's like growing back, but I used to just have like a shiny spot here because like there was
yeah.
no actual like skin like marks of definition because I had cut it open so many times.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Mine
but-
doesn't cut, but it's definitely shaved
Yeah.
on that whole part of my finger.
Yeah. But
And it's not as straight as my other one either.
yeah.
Kind of bends from holding
Yeah.
a pick for so many years.
Yeah, I found like between when I played in a band and when I met Dan and like partnered up with Dan and Rev, there was like about a 5-year period where I didn't really play much at all. Like, I wasn't in a band anymore, so I'd play at my brother's church. But other than that, that's it. So I remember, and I started collecting guitars during that time. So it was weird that like all of a sudden I owned my own company and I started making some money. So all of a sudden I could afford all of the guitars that I had originally wanted, because I never wanted like a 59 Les Paul or anything. I wanted a single cut PRS, and I wanted a gold top Les Paul. So like $2,000 max guitars. So I'm buying all this stuff used and then
Yeah.
like just hanging it on the wall and looking at it and barely playing it.
Yeah.
And then when I started up with Rev, I noticed, because I became the guy who like I play tested every amp that went out for like the first probably 3 years before we hired Sam. Like anything Dan built went through me, and any video or anything that we do, any trade show we went to, I was the guy that was playing at it. So when I first started back, I noticed like I barely had any calluses left compared to
Oh yeah.
compared to like when I played in a band. I mean, now I'm back to normal, and I actually think that I'm actually probably faster and a better player now because I end up testing stuff, and I almost have a guitar in my hands at least for a few minutes every day, where prior to that there'd be weeks that would go by that like, oh, if I'm not playing at church this Sunday and doing other things, right? So
Yeah.
Richard, yeah, I do have the PV Wolfgang. I am actually, that's a great question for you. I'll just start by answering it for myself. I'm fortunate enough that I have my first guitar, my second guitar, like every guitar I have owned in my life. Got lucky that I had sold a few of them off, and then the people that I sold them to, I'm from a really small town, so the people that I sold to just called me one day or messaged me on Facebook and were like, hey, did you want it back? I was thinking about getting rid of it. And every time I've been like, yep. And every one of them has been like, oh yeah, well, just give me what you paid me for or what I paid you for it, and we're good. So I had a guitar my first guitar I sold for $75, and
Yeah.
guy called me up. He's like, yeah, just give me $75. I'm like, sweet.
Okay.
So do you have any guitars, like anything that's sentimental that you have from when you started, or do you not care?
I mean, I do. My very first electric was a Ibanez Roadstar Series 2.
Nice.
And I remember I got another guitar, and I came home one day, and my mom had given the other one away because she's like, well, you got a new guitar. What do you need this old one for? And I was like, I was going to learn how to play slide on it. Like, I had so many plans for it. And she's like, what do you need? And like, she thought it was like goalie equipment. It's like, you don't need 2 sets of pads. So she just gave it to one of the neighbor's kids. I was so mad. And then I ran into her in Toronto one time. She's like, yeah, my name's blah, blah, blah. And I have your first guitar. And I'm like, oh my God, like, can I have it back? She's like, yeah. And she gave me her number, but I couldn't find it ever again to like actually follow up on it. So if you're out there from the old Joyce Crescent days, I'll take that guitar back. If you, I do miss that. It was, you know, I'd be sentimental about that.
Yep.
But then I had a really bad Korean Strat.
Okay.
And then my guitar teacher had a Telly with a middle pickup that somebody was selling, and it was there forever. And I tried it, and I got to the point where it just wasn't selling. So I got to the point where I went to lessons. I didn't even bring my own guitar. I was just playing this one. And and he called me up one day, and he's like, somebody's trying to buy it. I know you love this guitar. Like, can you do it? And my mom loaned me the money for it, and I had to like mow lawns and vacuum the house for the entire year, basically, to pay for it. I think it was only like $600 or something like that.
Yeah.
You know,
I had the same
$10 a mow. That takes a while.
Oh, dude, I remember that was my experience when I bought my Squire 2 in '94. I mean, we're the same age, so I was 14, and like, my mom, it was $400 in the store, and she's like, well, you have to pay me back for this because you already have a guitar. And I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. And yeah, same thing, like, had a paper road, cutting grass at $5-10 a crack, and it's like my whole summer paid for this guitar. And then the next year I went and I rented an ART, the ECC, the Effects Command Center, like multi-effects board from L&M for like $30 a month. So I was spending almost all of my, I'm sure all my paper route money was going to paying for this thing. And I think I rented it for like 2 or 3 years before I bought it. So this thing that would have cost me, I mean, again, in the 90s, this stuff was like $500, which in today's money is like $2,000 for a multi-effects board. Yeah. Which I guess the Helix is like, I guess it's like that for the Helix.
The Helix is...
The big one's got to be like $2,000 Canadian.
I think it's something like that. Cause I know the Axe FX isn't much more than that with the board.
Yeah, like the Axe 8. And
I mean, for what they do, they're reasonably priced.
Oh, I mean, gear today, I know that I'm super biased because we manufacture gear, but I mean, you can buy a Generator 120, and I should know this in Canadian dollars for all of the Canadians that are watching, but in American dollars, it's $32.99. So the Canadians probably like, I don't know, $7 million right now, or 4,600, somewhere in and around there. But I mean, I bought my first not my first tube amp, but my first head. I had owned a used 70s JMP 2x12 combo that was tube prior to that, but the first head that I bought a Mesa Boogie triple rectifier in 98 or 99, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And I paid 2,500, maybe 2,700 Canadian for it. And like, if you adjusted for inflation, that amp would be $7,500, $8,000 Canadian right now.
Yeah.
And they're $5,000, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. But our gear has not kept pace with inflation like everything else has. So like, I know, you know, it's a privilege that we can play, you know, $3,000 or $4,000 guitars. But what I paid for a guitar what I paid for my Wolfgang is more than what this guitar costs.
Right.
Cost adjusted for inflation, like it's not even close.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but it's I do remember that like, you know, getting a guitar pedal, like I remember saving all my money from the summer, and in the 90s I bought, that's probably part of the reason I don't like the chorus pedals. It was my second pedal that I got. So like I had the DoD hard rock distortion, and then I had the DoD stereo chorus, and that's it. Yeah. And like I could get one pedal a year, like that'd be all the extra money that I had. I mean, I spent money on other dumb shit, obviously, like everybody else does. But it was, you know, it was expensive compared to what pedals are now. I mean, I know pedals
weren't that much less. Like Bosses were around $60.
Yeah. I remember the
And they kinda
DODs
stayed
being
there.
like in the 90s. They were like $120 or 100 and some bucks.
Yeah,
And
some of them would get up there.
I lived in a small town, so like I went shopping in a town of like 10,000 people that had a
Right.
music store. So
Right.
I remember paying like $110 for one of them and $120 for the other.
Right.
And like in like 94, 95, like
Right.
yeah.
Well, I grew up in Belleville, so we had a pretty good store in town, but like they didn't have all the kind of like nicer guitars and pedals and stuff like that. So we would drive like on oddly enough on snow days.
Yep.
Our buddy would just drive to Oshawa,
Yeah.
take Highway 7 instead of the 401 as if that was any safer.
Yeah.
And like, just seeing all the pedals and stuff like that, it's like, oh my God, can I try that one? Can I try that one? And like,
Oh yeah. A
but
DOD.
they're like $120 for lots of stuff. Like the Tube Screamers were around there.
Yeah. I remember DOD had like a display thing where they had all their pedals, like they had the grunge pedal and the American metal and all of that shit on like this big board. And yeah, they were all daisy chained together and you could try them all out. And
Yeah.
I'd go sit and waste an hour in a music store
Yeah.
trying all these pedals. And of course you're playing them all like looking back now, and like you're playing them all through the shittiest solid state combo that they have there. Like they all sound terrible.
Yeah.
But you're probably just like, wait, this one? Yeah.
Let's try that one.
Like that one has more gain.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do. So but yeah, it's crazy. And like that's part of why like Joey and I started doing the podcast called The Golden Age of Gear, because like I think back to what we had for options in the 90s versus what kids have now. Like the equivalent, even the new like HSS Squires that are out that are like 200 or like $250 Canadian, like they dwarf the like $600 guitars from the 90s.
Yeah.
Like they're so much better
yeah.
and like so much easier to play now. And effects pedals, I mean, shit. I mean, you can go on Amazon and buy the $30 Amazon pedals, and every one of them, even though, I mean, Luke has that Mosky, what's it called? The Golden Horse? Is that what's called?
I don't remember anymore. It collects dust. I'll be
Yeah,
honest.
he
not
has
good.
the like little mini Mosky Klon
Oh yeah.
thing. It sucks terribly. It's better than every DOD pedal that was out in the 90s,
Oh,
though. Like,
they were the worst. What did I have? The classic Fuzz, I think, the orange one.
yeah.
That was terrible.
I bought during the pandemic. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna go back and buy like all of the DOD pedals and just see how cool they are.
Yeah.
And somebody in Minnesota was selling like 15 of them as
Oh,
like
yeah.
a lot. And one of our buddies here that watches the stream was like, hey man, he's like, if you want to grab these, like I can pick them up. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, I'll send you a waybill, get you to ship them up. So I got our buddy Andy to pick them up, and I get them all, and I was like, plugging them in one by one, and I'm like, whew, like all of these are garbage.
Why did I do this?
Yeah, I'm like, well, this was not $1,000 well spent, but
Yeah, we
or
got
however much it was.
a crazy deal out of I think it was a Chinese company or something. Rowan pedals. Did you hear Rowan?
No.
They're all mini pedals, and it was like $10 a pedal.
Yeah.
So I ordered a whole bunch of them,
Yep.
and I had a couple that kind of stuck around. There was one called the Dumbler that was all
yeah.
right. It was all right, but they're all super noisy though. Like
Yeah.
as soon as you turn it on, it's like, okay, the tone's there, but there's a weird squeal going on all the time, and it's like I can't live with that.
I bought a whole shitload of them during Black Friday last year, I think, and then we did like a shootout on Gear and Beer, talking about like, okay, like it's not lost on me at all that our pedals are expensive, right? We manufacture our stuff here, so it's it's not
Yeah.
cheap to operate in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like, well, let's check out like what the kind of like entry level alternatives are and how do they stack up against some stuff. And I found I don't remember the brand of it. It's on like an old Gear Beer too. If you watch one of the old episodes, it's up there. But the BB, like the BB preamp,
Oh, yeah.
like the orange one, the Mosky or Azure or whatever the Amazon company is that does that pedal. That one was actually almost as good as the original.
Really?
And there was a couple that like, the Tube Screamer clone was cool. Just some of the other, like the Rat thing was cool.
Uh-huh.
The Mosky King Rat sucked. Like there's like I've bought whenever I see them, like if I'm in the States and I go to like a music go round or somewhere, I'll be like, all right, let me see what you got for the $30 to $40 range, and let's see what's a piece of shit and what's not. And
Yeah.
more often than not, they're kind of shitty.
Yeah.
There's a reason they're $30. But if I was just starting out and I wanted to get like,
Something to get you through.
yeah, well, and like to dip my toe in the water of like, oh, I want to see what a Tube Screamer's like, and I don't want to spend, because a Tube Screamer in stores now is probably $200 Canadian, I would think, or
Yeah, in there.
yeah. So, if you want to grab something like Black Friday, I think I paid $20-25 each for these pedals.
Yeah.
Like Canadian, so it's cheap.
Yeah. But I mean, if you want that Tube Screamer sound, get a Tube Screamer.
Yes.
It's like there are a million fakes, and everybody loves, saying, "Oh, I got one, cost half, but it sounds just as good." And then you try it, it's like, no, it's not though.
Yeah.
I'm not even a big fan of Tube Screamers, actually.
No, I'm not either. I don't have like when I've built my board, like I have an original TS9 from the 90s, and like, I never use it. I don't like
the last board I had that clone. The Centura.
The Hardy?
I like that.
Or
I forget what it is.
Is it white?
I think it's Centura. It's gold.
Gold? Okay.
Like that gold.
Okay.
It's not a real one.
Okay. Yeah. No, I know which one you're talking about. Are you talking about the Warm Audio one?
No, but it looks the same.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's not life-changing. But,
No.
I mean, it does what it does. I like it better than this Tube Screamer, which I'm trying to use for the same thing, right? Like I just want, if I'm in overdrive time, and I want just a little extra.
Yep.
Like, I'll never use it on its own.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's got to go through the other overdrive.
Yeah, what I found that like I never really realized that I didn't like about Tube Screamers is that I always felt like they sounded really great, like this is not a Tube Screamer and those got green knobs. Or actually, you know what? Tilt is also not a Tube Screamer, but it is lower gain.
Yeah.
Like I would always find that like I would like it when it's just like on its own, like, and I'm just playing chords.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started playing anything that was like digging in more, then the clean bleed kicked in, and I could hear it, and I was like, "Fuck, it sounds weak."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I
wanted something with more beef to it.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that it
really
was clean bleed that was the problem, and I honestly didn't realize that that's really what the issue was, like, or what my issue was with Tube Screamers and why I didn't like them until we did the Tilt Overdrive. Because the first iteration of the Tilt Overdrive, before we started selling them to the public, one of the prototypes, the drive side had clean bleed in it. If you cranked it with humbuckers, you could hear clean bleed. And I was like, and I was like, once Sean like pointed out what it was, I was like, yeah, I'm like, he's like, like a Tube Screamer does. And I'm like, that's why I don't like the Tube Screamer. I'm like, and I never really put two and two together of like, what was the actual problem?
Right.
So.
Was that the Sparkle drive where it has the clean?
Yeah, where you can actually do it, but it's...
Sweep it in?
Yeah, but it's...
I had one of those for a while. It was all right.
It's better because it doesn't sound as like...
That one's got kind of fuzzy, sort of. Not fuzzy, but just like...
And it's got better top end, so like a lot of the time the clean bleed to me sounds like that like quacky flat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the Sparkle drive at least like cleans up, and if it's a little bit, sparkly, then it's better. But
yeah, I really love the Retrosonic for that. Like, it's just, you can be clean if you want. My other guitar player in Horseshack always says, you don't have a clean tone.
Yeah.
Like, well, I kind of do. Yeah, that's the one. Who's a good pedal? Yes, you are.
Yeah. I still haven't got one of those. I've only seen one store in like I've been to 130 some guitar stores in the last year, and I only saw one store that had like 2 Retrosonics in it.
Yeah.
But they weren't either the ones that were on your board last time you were here. So I like looked and I was like,
They do a phaser that's really good too. If you like that.
I do like phasers.
That's the MXR phaser, basically.
Okay.
It's just got more more EQ options on it, which is never a bad idea.
Your story about your like the store that you worked at that you were using the telly for teaching lessons.
Uh-huh.
I also worked at a small store. Like I grew up in a town of like 2,500 to 3,000 people, and I became there was the owner who was the main guitar teacher who taught. Like I took lessons from him, and anybody that was, either taking classical lessons or remotely advanced would take lessons from him, and then I taught all of the beginners.
Right.
So, similar story that there was a Ross Phase 90, one of the original, or not Phase 90, but the Ross Phaser pedal, one of the original like 70s or 80s versions at the shop that he was trying to sell. And through the 90s, he was trying to sell for $40. No one would buy it. And then one day for like Boxing Week, he marked it down to $5 because he was like, just somebody, it's got to go. And I had been using it during lessons. I've been like, this phaser actually sounds really good. Like I had just tried the ones like on the ART boards or on like the Boss like GT3 or the GT5, whatever it was that was out at the time. And so anyway, I bought this Ross phaser pedal for $5.
Right.
And it's to this day is probably my favorite phaser pedal. Like it still sounds the coolest.
Yeah.
So I was all hyped when Ross came, like when JHS brought Ross back, because I was like, yeah, that pedal's awesome. And I know everybody loves the compressor, but apparently they didn't love it all enough.
Yeah,
so,
I guess not.
yeah.
There's a lot of compressors out there.
Yeah.
I like that diamond compressor. It's pretty good. Colin uses that too.
I don't use a compressor.
I don't use it a lot. I really like for slide, basically.
Okay.
Or super clean sort of stuff where you just need it to spank a little bit more.
I don't play any of those things.
Oh.
So the 79 Ross phaser is $325, Luke.
Oh crap.
Oh yeah, nice.
Jeez.
I bought mine for $5. I sold it to one of my students for $50, and then he sold it back to me about 15 years later. He sold it back to me for $50. So I have it back. I stupidly sold it because I saw another guitar player playing the Boss phase shifter when it came out, and the phase shifter did this thing on this one setting where it was almost like a pitch shift thing that it would like it would like die off in little like notes that were like like which is useless.
Yeah.
But I heard it once and I was like, that's cool. So I sold my Ross phaser that sounded awesome and that I had used on the record that I played on, and then bought this Boss one, and I was like, this thing doesn't sound as good.
Right.
Yeah, but I got.
I think you can. I think he's on Instagram. The Retrosonics on Instagram. You might be able to send a message, and
I will.
I don't know. They don't post a whole lot of stuff, but these two, I have to have them.
Yeah. Oh, they sound awesome.
It's just. It's kind of the core of everything that I need.
What's the? I'm drawing a blank on the. Oh, Capsule.
Yeah.
You went
there?
Yeah, I was there. That's a cool ass shop.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And I was like, maybe they'll have these because like they got weird stuff, but all they had was.
It's a company out of Ottawa.
Okay.
And Colin and I found them in Edmonton.
Oh,
they were Whites on White.
Okay, yeah.
Music store.
Yep.
When it was awesome.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, they had them. I was just playing it on the other side of the room, and I just hear Colin on the other side. What pedal's that? And I'm like, I don't know. It's this thing. I'm buying it. I think both of us walked with both of these.
I tried to. Have you heard of Johnny Rock pedals?
Yeah. I had the Octafuzzy actually in this spot.
Okay.
But I don't really get a whole lot of octave fuzz opportunities on this gig, so I was like, okay,
Nice.
for real estate reasons, it's gotta go. But I almost had it. It sounds great. I found that in Medicine Hat, actually. The octave fuzzy.
At
I forget the name of the store, but it's
yeah.
just up from the theater.
Yeah, so I was at the same store in Medicine Hat because
Yeah.
my brother and sister-in-law moved there. What is it called? Yeah.
I should know the name of it, but
So I walked
forget.
in there
If
because
anybody knows.
I do this thing if you guys haven't seen it, and everybody we're bad for doing this, but yeah, hit us up with any of your questions. We'll read more of them off, and any questions you have for Chris, and also hit the like button, subscribe if you're not part of the channel, and then also I do this thing called Let's Check Out the Guitar Store, where I go to as many guitar stores as I can find, and I go check stuff out. And I went to that guitar store because my brother and sister-in-law moved to Medicine Hat, and we went out there for my niece's birthday. And I was like, well, it's a guitar store here. I'm gonna go check it out. And I found Johnny Rock pedals in that shop, and I bought the Clown Tar because I'm like, well, here's their Centaur.
I think I have that one.
Yeah, and I'm like, let me try it out.
It is, though.
So I tried it out in the shop, and I was like, man, this is actually like a pretty decent clone.
Yeah.
And the only other place I've ever seen them was at ZM Music in Montreal.
Yeah.
Or like north of Montreal.
Yeah.
But otherwise, and I don't know if somebody said they're not building them, like Johnny Rock's not doing them anymore.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
They're on Instagram every once in a while too.
Yeah, very, very cool pedals though.
Yeah, the Octafuzzy is really good.
Yeah.
I'll
have to try that. It's really bugging me that I can't remember the name of that store now.
Evangelos.
Evangelos?
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great little store. Every time I'm in Medicine Hat, I try to make it out there.
There's not much else to do in Medicine Hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You can look at that big teepee.
The big teepee, and then
That's the world's largest teepee, I think.
There's a massive liquor store right across from the from the venue.
Nice.
I only realized it was there last time because I think we had a day off or something. We didn't have enough to get us through. And
Nice.
so we walk over there, and it's like an arena size.
Yes.
And just like I'm looking around, like this was just across the street. Like this is insane. It was amazing. They had everything, obviously, but.
Okay, I have a question. What is your favorite beer of all time?
Coors Light.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Really?
All right. I respect it.
I
like to have shots every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, the Coors Light just keeps me on a good base level.
Gotcha.
I'm a beverage hound too. Like, I'm about to open my third of this podcast.
Yeah.
And,
It seems like the right number.
yeah, I'm on a good pace.
Yeah,
okay,
you're good.
okay, that's good. But yeah, I get a lot of slack about it, but I just like a cool, crisp, refreshing Coors Light. What can I say?
I like Coors Original or Coors Banquet.
Yeah.
Like when Banquet was out, that was.
Yeah, I like that too.
Oh, Goop Tech has the Johnny Rock brand now. Cool. That's great. I've heard good things about Goop Tech stuff. I've never tried any of it. I did get a little bit annoyed with him because he outright knocked off the G3 and was using our name and branding to sell it. And I was like, no, my friend.
Oh, really?
We can't do that.
Ah.
He didn't put it on the pedal, but everything listed on the website was clone of Rev G3 pedal. And I'm like, nah, sorry, dude.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
I'm like, if you know how to do this, start tinkering with the circuits and make something new. Make something that doesn't exist and do that.
Yeah.
Because that's way cooler than just doing another version of ours. And honestly, it's wasn't a lot cheaper than buying it from us. I'm like,
right.
All right. Well.
Yeah. What's the point of this?
Yeah. So
may as well come up with something new.
Diamond sold too. I was surprised that they went away. I really love. I only have one Diamond pedal, but it's their tremolo. And their tremolo is awesome.
It's killer, yeah.
Yeah.
I had one, but I at the time wasn't using much tremolo, and all I really had it set for was this.
Yeah.
For one part of a Colin song.
Yeah.
Literally that long, and then I turned it off.
Nice.
So I was like, I don't need I don't need the Diamond to do that. So I got rid of it. I think I got another Flint with it.
That is my favorite Strymon pedal.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Like the reverb sounds really great,
Yep.
and the tremolo is killer, and it doesn't drop the volume.
Yep.
That's all I ask of tremolos.
Sean kept asking me when we were going out to do any video stuff anywhere. He'd be like, "Yeah, just make sure they've got a Flint we can put in the loop."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Is it that good?" He's like, "Yeah, it's the best."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had like industry accommodation pricing from Strymon, which I don't know if we still have, but like we got not a big discount, but a slight discount. So
Yeah.
I like went on and bought
Nice.
like every Strymon pedal,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
like or at least all of the modulation pedals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I had
most
the
of
Blue
them-
Sky for a minute, but
I have the Big
I
Sky.
don't. Yeah, the Big Sky.
It's
Blue
like
Sky.
there's Blue Sky's the little one.
And then
I have the big one,
Yeah.
and I have the timeline. My timeline's broken several times.
Yeah, I tried the timeline for a minute. Didn't. I think I was saying last time, like the diamond delay.
Yeah.
That's my favorite in the world.
Yep.
But I just needed more stuff, so I put that on there. But this doesn't sound the same. It's not the same sort of.
No. No.
The diamond delay does something different. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I like this Avalanche run from Earthquaker. It's one of my favorite, just like simple.
Yeah.
Or like Walrus has the like ARP 87. It's really cool. I like, honestly, I'd probably just get away with using a carbon copy over anything and just.
Well,
be like,
I'm again like tap tempo is what I have to have it.
Yes.
So like, and that's all I run it. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4.
How's it going, Jason? Good to see you, dude. Did you miss Chris playing the piano?
Oh. Maybe we could set one up. Oh, not the right place.
Yeah, if only we had pianos here.
Yeah. Next time I'll bring one.
Yes. We'll bring in a baby grand for the next time you're here. Be set up.
We did
Get
one.
somebody into tune.
We did one in I think it's Montreal Airport or something like that. And Sekou knows that I can't play, and he knows what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And this lady's like, "Oh, somebody's gonna play the piano. This is what I needed on an airport day." And I start doing I was doing Dottie Hathaway, so it's just like ding 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 ding. Like no, not making any sense at all. And all the guys are filming and laughing, and I start singing it. She's just like, "Oh," like the biggest eye roll I've ever seen. She was so disappointed.
That's
She
awesome.
was like, "Oh, these idiots." But I find it fun to play hit songs and not know how to play them at all. I did some approximate harmonica on the blues cruise.
Did you?
People are like, "Hey man, take one." And I'm like, "No, I've never even touched one of these." I was just like, you're just blowing some rhythm in it because you can't go wrong on harmonica, right? So it's like,
I would argue you can't go right. Yeah, there's
few.
Unless you're Blues Traveler, you're not.
There's few, but all harmonica players hate that.
Yeah.
They're not blues travelers.
Yeah.
Guys, they hate him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How come? Just because.
I guess. I guess he's kind of a wanker.
Oh.
Dare I say it? I don't understand the harmonica community either. Steve Mariner, I have to come on here and do it. He's great.
I didn't know there was a harmonica community, so I also don't understand it because I didn't know it existed. I thought that was a thing we gave to kids, and some people just didn't outgrow it.
Yeah, Steve's getting burnt here, and he's not even watching.
So next week you're gonna learn the harmonica on the stream.
Yes,
Is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, it'll only be a quick episode.
We'll fly you back in.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have a keyboard because we can't get a piano in, but keyboard and a harmonica.
Mouse keyboard.
Yeah, but we can only fit a MIDI keyboard here, so you'll get just one octave, and that's all.
Oh, that's all I need.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
More than enough. How many of you guys here have tried the Retrosonic pedals? Why don't you give them a little bit of a taste of what they do? Because
Well, yeah, that, like I was saying before, that's just the Flint for reverb.
yeah,
So you can be, if you lighten up on it, you don't even have to turn the volume down. It gets pretty clean. But if you want to be digging in and getting just a loud amp sound, basically, you can almost do some Macy. But if you haven't touched anything, but it's still relatively clean.
Yeah. And what is that one called?
That one's the 808.
Oh, okay. So it's a tube screamer.
Yeah, exactly. Vintage
but
vibes.
with more stuff.
I find it
cooler.
less woolly.
Yeah.
It's got a little better
More
high
scrungy?
end, a little scrungy. Yeah. It's got a bit of scrunch to it, and then
Not as chonky.
no,
It's
not.
good.
I wouldn't say chunky.
Yeah.
And then I always run. This is the distortion, and I find it's like a fuzz
Oh yeah.
to me. Like
Yeah. So it kind of blooms a little bit when you hit it.
yeah,
Like
and
fuzz
it's
does.
like it's like in the fuzz world, it's not. What I hate about fuzz is that when you turn it on, it just kind of makes everything just not audible.
Yes.
Almost, So I've always stayed away from that sort of thing, but you still get that kind of like, that overtone that's going.
Yes, but you have a significant amount more clarity in that than you do in a traditional fuzz pedal.
Yeah,
And it's also
that's some
not
sting to it.
it's not taken off on you either, right? Like I find that was one of the things I didn't like about fuzz is that it wants to over feedback right away, and like the note wants to bloom way too much and too fast, and all of a sudden it turns to a pile of shit.
Yeah, and especially if you're trying to do anything intricate.
Yeah. I've for the most part hated fuzzes since I tried playing one, and it wasn't until starting to do the Golden Age podcast with Joey where he brought in the Kingsley Artisan fuzz for me to try, and I told him, I'm like, okay, well, like the way the podcast works is we batch shoot them because we both travel a lot, but each episode it's like Joey will bring something that he thinks I'm gonna think is cool, or that he thinks is really cool and that I might not know about, and then the next one is I bring something that he might not know about or might not have had any experience with. So when he brought in a fuzz, I was like, I know this is going to happen because Joey is like, fuzz is his go-to, and I hate it for the most part. So I had told him like right away, I'm like, maybe you can teach me how to play it, because I think my problem is I just don't know how to play it. And I feel like fuzz pedals, well, a better way to say that is I think there's gear that enhances your sound, and it just makes what you're doing sound better. And then I think there's pieces of gear that you have to play the piece of gear.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like fuzz pedals, for the most part, you have to play them more than they're going to enhance what you do. Because otherwise, they're just going to make things sound like...
Yeah. And Joey's, I think his main sound has been fuzz for a long time. So
oh, yeah.
He's gone through the gauntlet of things that he likes and doesn't like. And there's a lot of the, like, the theory is... A lot of them, you're not supposed to have your volume past like 3.
Yes. Well, that was the first thing that he showed me. Was he's like, what you should do is essentially, small arpeggios, right? Or like I don't know if like dyads or what you call it, but like essentially just not octaves, but 2 notes, and you let them ring out and see how everything is kind of blooming and reacting. And try playing it more like that, rather than like if you try to play a chord with a bunch of them, it's just gonna fall apart and sound like shit.
Yeah.
So
they're not chord and pedals.
No, it's like so play well, and I'm used to like that's where I live is that
right.
Like
although Ian uses like for most big stuff, like if he's playing a big sound, it's one of those Hendrix Experience pedals.
Yeah.
And it's on stun.
Yeah.
So
he uses an insane amount of gain though compared to what people think. I remember, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to out him for this, but I don't know if it was 7.2 or what record it was, but he called Travis when Travis worked for us. So Travis used to be at Sir, and that's how he got to know
All
Ian.
right, yeah.
And when Travis was our head of sales, Ian called Travis because Travis had reached out one other time, just being like, "Hey, if you ever want to try, high gain amp, like, we're Canadian, you're Canadian, it would be cool if,
Yeah.
if we could send something over to you." And like Ian is, as you know, is very, very committed to Sir, and John Sir is one of his best friends. So he's super sensitive to the fact that, like, I don't want to upset John either. So I don't want to do anything that could potentially hurt that relationship. But when it comes to studio time, it's what
It's a shootout.
and like what fits the track.
Yeah.
So I remember he messaged Travis being like, "Hey, that rev thing you were talking about," he's like, "Brother, I need all the gain. Does it have all the gain?" And Travis is like, "Yeah, like it's got a lot, like the generator." And he's like, "No, man, I need like really heavy. And does it have all the gain?" And Travis is like, I'll have them send you one." So we sent one, and didn't hear anything back for a little bit. And then Travis reached out, and Ian's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "it was perfect for like 2 songs or whatever he ended up using before." He's like, it was the thing. He's like, "Thanks, man."
Yeah.
And I remember, like, when I saw the text about it, I was like, "Really? All the gain?" I'm like, "Yeah, you don't need to dime the gain on the generator at all." And he did.
Oh yeah.
Like it
yeah,
was.
when I got to rehearsals, he was just like, I was like, "I think I got something going on here," and he just dials it back until, it stops making those weird sounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm just sitting there going, "Oh my God!" Like, when you hold a guitar in front of, 812s,
Yeah.
and you're trying to chug and be tight on something, it's a different experience than, if you're playing with lots of gain at home into whatever. It's like when you get into that live experience, like it'd take me a couple of rehearsals before it's like you kind of dial in with how everything reacts, right?
It is weird playing loud. Like playing loud here or at home. Like yesterday when I plugged in to start like working on this riff for the G4 thing that Sam and Dorian and I are doing. When I first sat down, I turned on the amp, and like I had a 120 here through this 412, and I turned it on and hit one chord, and it was super loud. And I was like, "Yeah, right. Like, let's go." Because I'm like, it just feels good. If that were out and I was at a venue, I would immediately become self-conscious and be like, "I'm too loud." Because it was so loud here, I'm just like, no one gives a shit. They're all working on stuff in the shop, and there's machines running, and no one was in here, so I'm like, I'm not offending anybody. But
that's the thing that I have, like with this rig. So I've got what I run is a Vibro King and a deluxe reverb with Colin, and so this right now is essentially being my deluxe, and this is being my Vibro King, and then the Vibro King is attached to this volume pedal. So I'll get this going to a reasonable volume, and then just bring this in until it not really getting a lot louder, it's just getting a lot wider.
Yeah. I was like, "Why isn't it changing for me?" And I'm like, "Because it's panned." So, but
yeah. So that's what I mean. I find if you have to be lower in volume, I'd rather have 2 of these at probably a lower volume.
Yeah.
Than one at like, loud enough.
Yes. It's interesting, like you said, about the like playing like ahead with 2 4x12s. I was at the first like big like YouTuber like gear demo guy event in Germany in 2017, I think it was, and Pete Thorne was there. And there's a bunch of these YouTubers who, some of them had never played through a tube amp before. Pretty well all of them had never really played in a band. If they had played like with, a local, like just in local bars or whatever, like top 40 type stuff. And it was hosted at Warwick and Framus in Germany.
Yeah.
And they had like an original like 60s Plexi full stack there. So Pete shot a video where he had all these YouTubers who had never played through a real like stack, go into this room with it, like with a Marshall dimed,
Yeah.
and had them sit and play and have them like experience what that's like. And if you've never had a chance to experience what an actual tube amp with even a 4x12, never mind like a full stack. If you've never had that experience, I'm not saying this to try to convince you to buy one of our amps, just to be very clear. You need to find a way to go have that experience, because it is unlike anything else you will ever play. Yeah. And, you know, so many of us have become conditioned to playing through in-ear monitors, studio monitors. Like, there's no stage volume anymore when we play. Like, when you actually get to play like that, well, the same way I said that, like, you know, you play to a piece of gear, your amp, that's to me when your amp actually becomes an instrument that you can actually then control more of, like, how it reacts, more than just what its voice is and how it sounds. Because now all of a sudden, depending on where you're standing, will determine your feedback. It'll determine a lot of things.
Oh yeah, it's a absolutely way different experience.
Yeah, it's way better.
Like, we're getting used to going the other way, right? Like,
yes.
Just as a lot of those players have probably, you know, had in-ears in their whole time, you know, playing through whatever, probably a computer, getting whatever sound they want, and it's like, oh, I can do, you know, Van Halen sound, boop.
Yep.
Oh, there it is. You know, like, now we're going like, oh, this is, why aren't my pants flapping?
Yep.
You know, what is it? You know, that rumble in your feet. Like, I miss that the most. Like,
oh yeah.
You know.
Yep. Well, I mean, like it's it's a real thing when we say like moving air, right? Like there's a big difference when you can feel everything. It's the same like at the church that Luke and I play at. The drummer's in like a plexiglass fishbowl, right? And like, I was at church on Sunday and I wasn't playing, so I was just sitting listening, and I was just like, man, everything about this makes me sad. Like, everything about this. So,
except for the electric guitar.
Yeah, well, the chorus on it made me want to
was real
die,
good.
Because that chorus was real good. I'll tell you what.
Best. Yeah.
But I like the reactive load stuff has changed that for me in doing it, like, because it's now I can feel it in my hands.
Yes.
You know, like, and that was a big thing too. Like, whenever I plug into a computer and it's like, what's wrong? Why can't you do it? It's like, it sounds good, but I can't feel anything.
Yeah, it's stiff and it's.
Yeah, but now like the simulators, like this one's really great in your amps and stuff like that. It's like you can feel it in your hands.
Yeah.
Which has changed a lot of stuff.
I mean,
still the vibrations of the floor and the pants flapping is.
I've gotten more used to it because, like, for you guys watching, like, there's like all we hear in the room is our voices and like acoustic, like the guitar's like unplugged, where everything is going direct to Pro Tools and
which is because then you're at the mercy of a monitor person, and luckily whenever I have to use in-ears, there's a great person behind the board, you know, but that's not always the case.
For Luke and I, it's the exact opposite case, where there's never, no offense to anybody watching that goes to our church, there's never a qualified person.
Right, yeah.
We have our own iPads to do our own mixes.
Yeah.
But then they change. They think that the gain control on the board is meant for pulling volume down. So they'll pull the gain down on something. You'll be like, why did the keyboard just disappear from my ears? And then you're like trying to move it back up, and you're like, this all sucks. Like, this all feels terrible. But I will say that, you know, doing this is now like, I don't know how long, like 4 or 5 years, maybe 5 years of doing our live streams. So we're close to 5 years. So I've gotten so used to, like, this is how I hear my... That's how I hear my guitar most of the time, and I absolutely agree with you. I mean, reactive load boxes make a world of difference compared to even just a direct line out from the Helix or from the Axe FX or anything. They are way better, and impulse responses are way better, and they've made huge advancements in how things feel. So it's at least, I would say, for me, as you know, shitty as it sounds, I would say it's tolerable. right?
Right.
But I will still always opt that I'm like, oh, if I could just hit this little button on the back here and have that just start
Yes, please.
making noise, that is what I'm gonna choose.
Because there's also nothing better than, standing 7 feet in front of it. Not because it used to be, somebody's just putting a microphone right in the face of the speaker, and it's like I never would get that sound.
Yeah.
It's like when it opens up about 7 feet later is where it's like,
well,
this is perfect.
Yeah, that's why our 4x12s, I always favored. We did an X pattern of 2 vintage 30s and 2 creambacks, or when we used warehouse guitar speakers, we would use 2 veteran 30s and 2 ET90s, which are kind of their vintage 30 and creamback style speakers. But I like that X pattern over either one of them, like being a quad of just one type of speaker, because I found that everything blended really well in the room. And I'm like, oh, this sounds so great. Then you go to mic it up, and you're like, well, they're only miking one of those speakers. So I'm either getting the 30 or I'm getting the creamback. And if I'm getting the creamback, it sounds dark. And if there's a bass player, all of a sudden the guitar starts kind of disappearing a little bit. And the only way to bring it back is to turn the... Either they got to EQ it in front of house, or I start turning treble up. Yeah. Right? And then all of a sudden I turn treble up here, and I'm like, well, now my cabinet sounds tinny and weird. And like, yeah. So I mean, now with what we have with the embedded, it's easy because, if I can use a cabinet on stage, I'll use it on stage and just have it for like my own monitoring and for moving some air. But then I still will always send the direct signal from the amp to front of house and be like, okay, so no more miking shit up on stage. Just we've got good impulse responses, or good presets. Just run those direct, and
that's the way to go.
So there's a lot of things that are making it way easier for guitar players to get way better sound. Like I was listening to a bunch of records that I was listening to back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Listening back to old Creed, to Creed records and stuff like that when they did their reunion tour this year, and listening to guitar tones from then to guitar tones on records now, and you're like, everything sounds like they had like a wet blanket in front of everything, and it sounds so muffled and so
it's like, well, everybody's been trying to use this direct stuff since it came out. And it's like, years ago it wasn't quite ready.
No.
Until I tried the aux box was the first time I was like, oh, I could do this. I had to during the pandemic.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of guitar players during the pandemic, that it became like, that's really like when people ask us about what were kind of like the turning points for Rev as a company. And I was like, well, one was the G3 pedal coming out. We decided, and I'm not saying we're the first, so don't everybody get all, shitty at me about it. But we were one of the first companies that we sent pedals out to 20 of the YouTube influencers. And it was before everybody was watching YouTube gear demo channels. And a bunch of them started using clickbait titles for stuff with the G3 pedal. We're like, I remember I flew from here to Germany to go to Music Messe, to go meet Thomann Music Shop in Germany is the biggest guitar store in Europe, and they were we only had maybe 8 or 10 dealers worldwide at the time, and they were our biggest by far, and their purchaser had tragically been killed in a car accident. So I was flying over there to meet the new buyer as the pedal was coming out. So it actually, all the YouTube videos launched as I was in the air. And I remember landing in Germany, and I opened up my phone, and all of a sudden I just get a flood of orders. And I was like, what the, what happened? I'm like, we thought we were going to sell 250 G3 pedals that year. We launched these in essentially in April of 2018, and we were like, okay, if we sell 250 of them this year, that would be pretty awesome, right? Sell that and some amps, and maybe we won't be losing money anymore. And I think by the end of the first day, we had near 300 sold.
Oh, nice.
So And I was like, what happened? And then I look at the YouTube videos that were tagged in, and it's like Ola England posting like, you know, best distortion pedal ever, and like
That's the
a bunch of the
doesn't
titles.
shred guy.
Yeah, a bunch of the titles were like, how did they do it, or like it was like just super clickbait stuff. And I was like, what is like? And I remember calling back from Germany to here and talking to Dan and being like, I was like, dude, I don't know what happened, but like all of these videos, the titles on them, like everybody's saying this is the best thing ever. I'm like, it's the weirdest thing. And we realized afterwards that it was like, oh, this is because they figured out that the algorithm was favoring and more people were clicking the more you sensationalize the title. But
Right.
like, it's not like they had a group of them that all got together and talked about it. Like, we didn't talk to anybody about it. We sent the
Right.
pedals out and we're just like, here you go.
Give it a go.
Yeah, let's see what you think. But yeah, like that was kind of, you know, my experience in like that was the first kind of milestone thing that like the G3 took off, and like that was when we were like, oh, we need to hire more people, we need to order more parts. And then the next big thing was we did the D20 in 2019, and it took the full year. Like we launched it at NAMM, and it wasn't until like, man, like I think about December of 2019, November, December, I got my second order from Long and McQuaid, where it was like, okay, they've started selling. It's good. They're not, because at first they were like, hey, like you're gonna need to come out and train our people because these are taking too long to sell. And I'm like, oh no, like people aren't into it. And you know, then they started to move through the holiday season. January 2020 comes around. We released the G20 amp, so the high gain version of it. And of course, we're all joking around about this, you know, coronavirus in China that's messing up everybody's electronics, like parts deliveries, right? And at NAMM, we're all laughing about it. And then, sure enough, March comes and the world shuts down. And I would say right around May of 2020 was the next turning point for us, because there were so many guitar players that were stuck at home, and professional guitar players that were like, I got to find a way to eat. And all of a sudden we started selling D20s and G20s because there were guys that were teaching lessons at home, and it was like, okay, here's a quick way I can connect this to my interface and it doesn't feel terrible. It sounds good. Like I can actually work. Or, you know, guitar players, you know, like you, that they're living in a big city. A lot of them are living in apartments. Well, now I can actually cut guitar solos on tracks. I don't have to go to a studio. I can just use my board and this, and a producer's not going to say no to my tracks and say this sounds like shit.
Yeah.
So, so like we kind of had right product, right time. That like, oh, everybody's stuck at home, and we had one of the best solutions if you wanted to play a tube amp at home, especially as a professional.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah. So, and then the aux box, like I worked for Two Notes at the time. And I remember when the aux came out, I was like, ooh, this is going to be a big problem for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was. So it,
I don't hear anybody using them anymore.
no, I mean, there's so many other options now that are really great. Like the Torpedo Captor X for, you know, that's what's built into our stuff, is the same as what's in the Captor.
Right.
And I mean, it's, I mean, I don't, like $550 US or something, where the aux is probably like 12 or 1,300 bucks.
I think it's more than that. It might be around 2.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 Canadian, probably. Yeah, so like a lot. And yeah, and like the Wazacraft, I feel like the tube amp expander, the Boss tube amp expander, when it came out, I think it took a bit of the wind out of UA's sales a little bit.
Yeah.
And then also UA, like not allowing you to load third-party IRs, that's a big problem for a lot of people, because there's a lot of people that want to make impulse responses of their favorite mic and cab. Like I was talking to Dan Huff about this, because he's got 1 or 2 specific cabinets mic'd up in his, like, he's got like a separate like soundproof room in his home studio. I had said, like, because he was asking me about the direct out on the D40 that you're playing, and he was asking about the presets on it. He's like, these actually sound and feel pretty good. Like he's like, it's pretty close to what my actual cab sounds like, or at least like feels like. And I'm like, yeah. I said, well, I'm like, we could actually make an impulse response of your actual rig and put it in there. So then you can, he's like, so you mean like if I go out and play live, I could just take that preset and run it to front of house? I'm like, yep. He's like, and I can make my own and do that? I'm like, yep. And he's like, oh. And I think there's like a whole ton of people that don't understand that, like with like the Sur reactive load IR or the any of the torpedo stuff, like you can do that. So you can open up your possibilities. Like when I saw you in Toronto, that was one of the things I was talking to Mark about. That Mark was running. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to out him for this, but was running a Cutler X's for his ran in front of house, but it's what ran to his ears. And I said, like, why don't you just take a capture of the cabinet that you guys use in studio and the mics you use in studio, and like we'll build an IR of that, and then you can load that into your Capture X. And he was like, oh, we can do that? I'm like, yep. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of stuff
like
we don't understand.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of stuff
what?
that has nothing to do with songwriting or performing, right? So like, why would the average guitar player know that much about it? Like, it's all like engineer, techie, nerd stuff. That I mean, a lot of guitar players learn that stuff about their gear, but most of them are like, most guys I meet are just using products. Like, does it feel right? Does it sound right? How easy is it to use? Yeah. And that's it. And they don't care. Sean used to have, well, he probably still has the same saying. There's a YouTuber that had put a video up where he was opening up a pedal and was kind of criticizing, like, oh, they've got board mount input jacks, and, you know, this doesn't look like quality. I think the pedal should be worth, you know, $50 less than what they're charging for it based off of its componentry. And Sean was like, man, he's like, you know what? He's like, I don't give a shit if there's a hamster in there running on a wheel. If the shit sounds good and it doesn't break when I step on it, it's good. Yeah. He's like, that's all I care about. Yeah. As long as it'll stand up to some touring. He's like, and if it doesn't, if it sounds great, it can still be the thing that sits on my desk and that I use when I'm tracking something, but it just can't go on the road. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's all about durability and, you know, whatever sounds good, whatever makes you feel good, really. Yep. So that's the most important stuff. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of guitar players that just kind of don't get a lot of that. Oh, the amount of guitar players that will just like, you know, when we switched to the the fractal stuff. Ooh, yeah. I was terrified. Yeah. Because it was kind of imposed on me. They're like, we got some fly gigs and we're gonna be on both sides of the country, so we can't ship all your. Because this used to be my big rec board, you know, with. Yeah. But I'm not gonna find a backline generator anywhere. Nope. So, unfortunately, yeah, that just kind of ruined this whole rig. Wow. So it was like, okay, well, here's an Axe-Fx. Figure it out, basically. And I was super surprised because I'm not like the most, like I've used pretty much all these same pedals for maybe almost 20 years. Like, right. You know, in certain variations of it, sort of thing, you know? Yeah. But when you actually are forced to sit down and try it and do it, it's really not that hard. And it's like the capabilities are insane. Like, well, and you get anything. Like, I love that I can just like, you know, because if it's like verse, okay, I've got a super reverb and a bassman, super clean. Yep. You know, with whatever delays. Like I have like 8 delays going, you know, just a tube screamer, but it's like not hardly even on a clon or something like that. And I can have, you know, run that same rig, and then the next one is just got, you know, just like this. Like, yep. But the whole rig is there. It's stereo and it's everything, and it's just like, oh my God. Well, you use like 4 tube screamers in front of your amps, and all of them are doing different stuff. Like, you know, I can only have so many overdrives. I know I have 4 here. But yeah. Well, that's why, like, when Cliff and Matt reached out from Fractal about us, like, helping them model the generator for the Axe-Fx. It's the same thing when Line 6 reached out about doing it for the Helix. We were like, we absolutely are on board because because I mean, I came from being a concert rigger as well and helping in Backline. So watching as guys show up to festivals and are going through the Backline amps, just being like, okay, what do you have? And okay,
Yeah.
and like, you know, once they knew that I was with Rev, asking me like, all right, like, so which of the Basemans isn't shit? And I'll be like, that one. Like, they're like, there's four.
My first
but-
question is like, has Buddy Guy been here recently?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's like, which one did he not use?
Yeah. Yep.
Because it's full. He
Yep.
just turns it up to full, and the treble is off.
Yep.
Or no, the bass is off.
Oh, so it's just piercing and just
Pure
yeah.
piercing, full basement, and like you try it one afterwards, and it's like
Yeah, it's just dead.
it's nothing. Yeah, nothing to it.
Like the amount that happens, or like guys will show up and be like, so you've got 4 AC30s, like what drivers are in each? And I'm like, none of them have what you want. Like none of these. I'm like, you're like,
These babies are tired.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Like, you know what?
I don't think any of them have been fixed in the last 4 summers.
No, they have not been retubed. They get retubed when they die.
Yeah,
And
and even then, they probably go to about 3 or 4 more festivals before.
yeah. Oh, that one's not working. Oh, okay. Oh.
That one.
Yep.
Okay, let's put the tape on it.
Yeah. That's part of why we developed the D20, to be honest, was I was like, it's 9 pounds. You can put it in a little, like it comes in a little carry bag. You can fly with it and your pedal board, and you're not going to be overweight on your baggage or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, if you're running in-ears, and I mean, even if you're not, you can plug into an external cabinet on stage, and at least then you get consistent tube tone, and you don't have to mic up their shitty cabinet. You can just have whatever cabinet is there to move air, and then run it direct to front of house.
Yeah.
And then you have consistent sound, like show to show.
Yeah.
And there are some guys that use them that way. I mean, there's way more of them that just go, shit, I'll just use whatever Backline gets there. And then, you know, they show up somewhere and they'll be like I'll get messages from friends being like, yeah, I was in Edmonton and the Backline was terrible. I'm like, I mean, that's almost everywhere. That like
it's pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. So
yeah, you get lucky if you're in the headliner and nobody else can touch that amp the rest of the day.
yeah. Yep.
But even then, no,
Yeah,
not really often.
We now have it like
Backline's a
so.
crapshoot.
Every year I work at this festival called Dauphin Country Fest in Dauphin, Manitoba, and I normally bring like 8 or 10 revs between the 3 stages, and I'm like, I just put them in Backline, and if guys show up and they want to try them or they want to use them, then they use them. So now almost, you know, I wouldn't say all the local guys, but like a significant amount of the local players that are going up there will message me before they're going out, just being like, are you taking Backline up there this year? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, so you have D20s and D25s? And I'm like, yep. They're like, okay, great. So I don't need to bring an amp? I'm like, no, we'll have something there. And they're all,
Nice.
like, they've all been checked here before they go out to make sure everything is working properly.
Yeah.
And if they're not, we bring spare tubes and everything with us to be like, oh,
Yeah.
we'll fix it up
Yeah.
while we're there. But yeah, the amount of people that like that I've seen show up to festivals and just be like, oh, the shit that they gave us, or like you request a JCM 800 and you get there and there's like a JCM 2000, like dual super lead or triple super lead, and you're just like, oh great, this thing's a piece of shit, thank you.
Yeah.
It's not at all what I asked for. They both say Marshall, but
Oh, this isn't what you asked for? Okay.
yeah.
It's like, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just,
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
I remember I played one show with my band where we showed up and it was being Backline because it was a festival, and I didn't bring my amp, and I had put on the Backline like dual rectifier, no substitutions, like, and I played a triple rectifier, but I'm like, they're not gonna have a triple rectifier in Backline, so I showed up and they're like, we got a JCM 900 or JCM 800, and I'm like, okay.
All right.
And I did not have, like, because I played a boogie, I had a tube screamer on my board. Nothing else for drive pedals, because I was like, everything I get from the amp.
Yeah, that's why I've always gone with this. Like, all my tones are in this. Just give me something relatively clean.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, you, sir, are smart. I was less smart. And,
Well, I mean, I learned pretty quick that,
Yeah.
you know, you can't rely on an amp. Like, it's like,
yeah.
I mean, a consistent amp, like touring in Canada, you're never gonna fly with an amp.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're lucky sometimes with Big Rec before where everything gets shipped out, but like,
Yeah.
you know, that causes a day or two of rehearsals because everything's gone.
Yeah.
And we can't just plug into deluxes and run through Big Rec stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not the
gonna
way
work.
it goes.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the
It's
Fractal's been a godsend.
yeah.
And then
We
once you guys do a power amp, I'm in.
we've talked about it lots. It's not
It's
real
the-
soon on the on the development list, but it's
I
on
bet
the
it
list.
would boom, though. I bet it would boom.
You are not the only person who has said that. So yeah.
It's just a necessary evil. And
Yes.
there's not a whole lot in there. Like, there's not a lot of options.
No, it's like Seymour Duncan power stages and not a lot of.
Yeah, I've seen those, but I haven't really tried them. I don't know
I've
if they're any
played
good.
somebody's rig that had one, but I've never sat like I couldn't mess with anything. I just got to
Yeah.
hit a few chords with their rig.
Yeah.
So
Ricky had one. Ricky Teal plays in our cover band.
yep,
He's like, yeah, I'm using this. And it was good.
yep,
But I mean, like, that digital stuff doesn't really work in the bar scene.
right.
You know? Like, I'd never bring out the Fractal for a Horseshack gig.
No,
No
no.
way. Not even close. Like,
Yeah.
Or a Colin gig. Like, it's just not there yet.
Yeah. No,
But
I mean,
high
bluesy,
gain sort of
bluesy stuff is kind of
It's too on the fly. You know,
Yeah.
like, and what Fractals are good for is like a scene,
yes.
you know, for bridge, chorus, verse.
Well, and what is
That
missing
sort of
from fractals? While they're like, no offense, fractal, because we like.
Yeah, they're
I have,
amazing. I love
there's an
them.
Axe 3 hiding back there.
Yeah.
But the dynamics are still off compared to a tube amp. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
playing something like with Colin, like dynamics are, I would say, way more critical than
Mm-hmm.
Big Rec. Like Big Rec is going to be loud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like, you know, loud and quiet in specific places. And,
Yep.
you know, but with the, like, being able to just switch a whole rig for clean to
Yep.
dirty, like, you don't have to find that happy medium like I was doing with the
Yes.
EVH. You know, it's like, okay,
Yes.
well, this sounds really good, but this doesn't sound great. But this sounds really good if I do that, but no, this doesn't sound really good. So it's like just
Yep.
finding that, okay, which one do I need to be?
Yeah, you're going to
really
have
good?
one that you have to compromise on no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we're past 2 hours here, so
Holy.
yeah. So we're
Time
gonna
flies.
we're
Did,
gonna go.
did anybody
soon.
ask us any questions?
Yeah. Do you guys have any
We've
questions
just
before we go?
Just been yakking.
Have you heard of R2R electric pedals? They're made out of vintage components from the 50s and 60s, like the pots, transistors, capacitors, and they're hard to get. Never heard of them.
No.
Reminds me of like, you know, kind of like Cornish effects type vibes of like, you know, this is all like super high end, you know, VOS parts.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
I don't really go that far into this stuff.
No, I just
I'm totally like, you know, if I hear Joey likes something, I'll try it.
yeah.
But I'm not really just surfing around for whatever.
I'm-
I like my stuff that I have, and it's taken me a long time to
To land on what
realize
you
what
got.
I need. You know, like whenever I try to get rid of the green overdrive, I'm like, I have to have that back. It's just
Right.
I just know that pedal so well. Same with the distortion, and then these other things and the flint. It's like I gotta have it.
I
You know.
I want to try everything, so I tend to buy like, you know, I normally wait till I get like a deal or one of my friends is selling a bunch of stuff, and I'll buy like a lot of pedals at a time or something. But yeah, then I just, you know, bring it on here and talk with all the guys on it and see what they think, and then it
Yeah.
normally ends up on one of the shelves. Sits there for
Well,
a
it's
long
just-
time.
There's just so much stuff. Like, what are you gonna do? You know? Like,
Try it all if I can.
Try
and if
it
I
all?
can't, then I can't.
yeah. I think I'd stop because like I just don't have any room.
Yep.
And then like, I've always been like, okay, well, I'm gonna make a little miniature version of this pedalboard. It's like, well, I can't live without that. I can't live without that. I can't live without that. And then it just ends up being the same board.
Do you think you could get by with the HX Stomp over the FX?
I would think so, but The Stomp is the 6 or the 4?
Yeah, it's small. Like, I think it's about half that size.
Maybe. I don't know.
Like, if you were doing a
Sometimes I'm
small
using,
board, you
like,
might be able to get away with it. Yeah.
You know, I use like 4 at a time sometimes.
So no.
I mean, that's just for, that's, you know, that's getting a little, just because it's there sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to use this sound a whole lot.
But that one time you need it, the show's over if you didn't have it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Should be able to do this.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the other thing that we get caught up on. I remember that similar thing. I had one song in my band that I had written that had one part where I turned my tremolo pedal on for exactly what you just did there.
Yeah.
That was it. But I mean, it had to be there. Like that's how it was written, and to me was like one of the coolest parts of the song.
Yeah.
Right. So one day my pedal board goes down. And I can't figure it out before the show, so I'm stuck to it's just me and my amp, right? Yeah. And we played the show, and guess what? No one gave a fuck. so here I was like, I need this sound, and I'm like, I don't need this sound. No one cares. Like, but I mean, I cared, but no one, at the show.
We care about that stuff. Right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it never ends, I guess.
So
I'll try stuff.
Mr. Oz says, I thought I would be gaining a lot by buying the Digitech iStomp pedals because you could download the pedal you wanted and it was great at the time. Any thoughts on those? I don't know that pedal at all. I don't do any of the like tone print type stuff from like TC Electronics or any of those guys. Like
Colin has one. What is the G? I might be that G Stomp. Or
yeah.
iStomp? I think he had one of those.
Maybe. I just don't get into the like. If I gotta download something for it, I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes me think like.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
Yeah. Braxel, we are not in Guitar Sanctuary, although I do talk to those guys quite a bit. The Bryans over there, the great dudes.
Yeah, we played there with Big Rick.
Oh, it's such a cool venue and
it's cool
shop, hey?
Yeah, all high-end stuff.
Yes.
You know, when you see like a wall of sewers and like
a
wall of guitars you never heard of, and they're all like
$10,000.
Yeah.
There's a wall.
I'll try that one.
The wall of Tom Anderson's that you're like, oh, okay. How much is this one? 7,000. Oh, okay. All right, well, let's try a different one that's not 7,000. Oh, this one's 6. Okay, well, we're getting better.
Yeah. We'll talk about pedals too. He's got a million super high-end pedals.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Just really cool shop overall, and like. You know, Brian Meter that runs that place is an awesome dude. If you guys are ever in McKinney, Texas, so Dallas area, that's one of my stops whenever I go to the Dallas Guitar Show.
Yeah.
Have you seen the new Andy Wood signature 10th anniversary series? I have not.
Oh. You got a new one? Is that this year?
I barely got it.
Got quite the setup here.
Yeah. I barely had.
Please show us.
Yeah. Where is this thing? Oh, right. Yeah. Because he got like, it's in like a Corvette red. It's getting real close to Fiesta red, Andy.
Ooh.
Well, it's pretty orange. That's cool.
I like that orange. That's good.
But those pickups go back. They look, just that photo makes them look like EMGs, and that makes me scared. So.
Well, those look cool.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
His telly is awesome.
He's got some good stuff.
Yeah. He's probably not watching anymore, but yeah, Noel asked what year's the gold top on the wall. I don't remember. It's like 2012 or
what is it?
16. It's a Bluesman vintage. So the telly beside it is one of my favorite Telecasters ever. It's a company in Spring Hill, Tennessee. Makes guitars.
Oh, yeah.
And the telly's amazing. You know Wendell Ferguson? Wendell's a West Coast guitar player, singer-songwriter.
I feel like I've heard the name.
Yeah. Wendell tried to buy just the neck off of it from me one year at a festival. Same with...
That's a hilarious thing to do.
Yeah.
I'll take the neck off of that.
Yeah, he's like, do you want to sell just the neck? I'm like, no. No. I'm like, I don't want to sell any of it. So... Definitely not. So So anyway, the Les Paul is also from them, but it's it's a little bit of a dog. That's why it's just hung on the wall.
Yeah, a little heavy.
Your neck moves too much.
Right.
So, but it looks badass.
It does
And
look pretty
when
nice.
the neck is stable, like whenever it is stable, it sounds awesome.
Right.
But yeah, the Telly on the other hand is like,
A rock.
yeah, it's killer. So,
Cool.
Corey Fraser, got any non-alcoholic beers that they don't like, or anyone got any non-alcoholic beers that they don't like,
Yeah, all of them.
No, it's that
or
they
that
do
they like that don't taste like shit? Yeah, yeah, I've never had one that I did like.
I don't
Sorry.
mind the Heineken. The Heineken's
Yeah?
pretty good. Apparently the Guinness is pretty good too, but I
Really?
haven't tried it. Yeah.
Heineken period, I can drink one before I feel like somebody took just a bunch of stinky weed and crushed it up into my beer. Like this just
Yeah.
tastes like
I'm not
drinking
crazy
it.
about Heineken either.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, you guys got like one more minute to ask any other questions before we're gonna get out of here.
Yeah, we just yacked over everything.
Yeah, that's
It's
fine.
like, whatever.
It's what I mean, that's the best part of doing anything with gear, in my opinion. Like, it's fun to play it, obviously, and to create with it. That's what I'm supposed to say, because that's what people are supposed to do other stuff. But but I do like the fact that like it's so not often you just get to sit down and talk to people about like, okay, what do you think is cool? Why do you think it's cool? And how do you use it? And then that way you can kind of formulate your opinion of like, okay, is that something that's going to work for me or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, like, especially guitar nerdery, it's so rampant.
Yeah.
You just got to try it. Like, nobody's going to learn anything from us playing through stuff.
Oh no. Well, it's funny you said like if Joey says something's cool, like for so long there'd be a couple guys like Joey and Sean that if they said something was awesome, I'm like, well, okay, I'm gonna buy it. And then I'd buy it, I'm like, I sound like shit through this. And then you realize like I sound nothing like Joey Landreth or Sean Tubbs.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm never gonna sound good through this.
Yeah. I'm definitely a follower for pedals and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Other than the Retro Sonics, I think I'm the only ambassador, and they haven't really given me anything. I just love them.
bastards.
Yeah. Well, no, I think
No.
they gave me one overdrive, and I think he gave me the phase. But no, if I see them, I buy them.
Yeah, and if they see this, there had better be a box of pedals show up at Chris's door. No.
No, he
No.
has been super nice.
No,
It was years ago. I'm not sure I hope he's still making them.
I was gonna say, and everybody should support small pedal builders. Like
Yeah.
that's
It's a very Canadian board I got going on here.
you do have a very Canadian board, and like, yeah, and like it's all like everything on your board is good. Like it's not like you've got some token pedal that it's like, oh, this is the cool thing for just this one sound, and that's all it does.
Well, that's what the Line 6 is for.
Right? Yeah, to give you a bunch of those.
Yeah, I got as many scenes as I can think up for those.
Noel said, would
Yeah.
Chris leave Big Wreck to be a band leader on a Canadian late night show? Is there a Canadian late night show?
Noel hosted a
Oh.
fictional CBS or CBC thing, and
Nice.
I was his band. So
Nice.
it was fun to do that. And yeah, if the money's right.
Nice.
Stay at home money? Come on, make it happen, Noel. I'd probably still do all the gigs though.
You'd be like,
Like, as much as I love playing 10 seconds of a song or less, I kind of
Yes.
like playing in front of people with a great rock band.
I,
So maybe Noel is what I'm saying.
yeah. So again, if the money is right,
The
then-
money is very right,
Yeah.
which I don't think is coming from the CBC.
True. Yeah. Our wonderfully rich Canadian broadcasting system
Yeah.
or corporation that has
Yeah.
oodles of money.
Yeah, exactly. But that'd be fun. We should have a Canadian late night talk show again. That's something we're missing.
Yeah.
Every Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
We got
This
it.
is it.
Yeah.
The Jonavision relaunch. Yeah. There you go. Get Torrens to start doing
Yeah, maybe.
doing another show.
Yeah.
I mean, it is interesting how many Canadians are like out, especially down south, that are out like working constantly, and that a lot of Canadians don't know about. That, like there's gonna be a lot of Canadians that have no idea who Ricky is.
Oh yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean,
those in the know. No, Ricky.
Yeah.
He's so killer, man. He's one of those guys that gets away with not singing.
Yeah.
People are like, okay, whatever, you're that good.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of gigs out there where you go up to them and it's like, I don't really sing. It's like, well, we need somebody to sing. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a prerequisite for anything these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had somebody that was playing a festival and this guy kind of yelled through a fence in a weird way. And he's like, Chris, do you got any advice for a young guitar player? I go, yeah, sing. And he was kind of like offended by it. And I'm like, I had to like wave him down. And I'm like, I'm actually dead serious. Like,
Yeah.
singing is probably more important than wailing solos. You know what
Well-
I mean? Playing good rhythm and singing is like, if you want to work as a gigging musician, those
I was
are
gonna say.
super important things.
Most gigging musicians I know are not the lead guitar players.
Yeah.
They're normally rhythm guitar players, and like if they're playing like in a pop country band or something like that, and they have to play guitar solos, I mean,
Going off the record, sort of
I
thing.
was gonna say the level of guitar solo that you have to be able to play in today's music, it's not that high,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
So
there's not a whole lot of,
Yeah.
Brent Mason and Brad Paisley solos
Yeah,
ripping
yeah.
on pop country these days.
yeah, that doesn't have a Brad Paisley or a Brett Mason already.
Yeah, in the band.
You
Yes.
know? That's probably their band.
Yeah. So no, I 100% agree. That's like I can't sing, or I'm terrible at it. Like I can hold pitch okay, but I don't. Like
Everybody can sing.
I'm real bad at it.
Everybody can sing. I
so-
swear to God, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
It's like anything. You just have to do it.
I can rip a day to remember. You bet. You bet.
Did you hear their new songs?
Which ones?
They dropped 2 new songs 2 days ago.
No.
And they did a cool thing where they dropped their album, but only on physical release.
Oh.
For now. And then next month, they're going to drop it on streaming.
Oh, that's why I haven't heard it. Cause.
No, the 2 singles are on Spotify.
Oh.
But the
okay.
full album
Gotcha.
is vinyl and CD, and then they're going to...
I'll buy the vinyl. Day to Remember is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm into like punk rock, or well, what would you call it, Luke?
Pop punk with like metalcore, I guess, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. The opposite of Roger Waters.
Oh, yeah.
the exact opposite of Mark Knopfler.
Right, yeah.
I'm into Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits as well. But yeah. Anyway, I didn't sing when I was in a band. I don't sing now, and I've said the same thing. Like what stopped me from continuing my career in music was not being a singer, because I kept, when I was in a band, the singer was the one who quit when we were like, it's not like we were gonna get huge, but like when we were starting to get decent opportunities, it was the singer who was like, I can't do it anymore, and I was like, and I'm screwed. Like,
Right.
starting over.
You didn't
So
pull a Phil Collins and just be like, you know what, I'll do it.
no, because I couldn't sing.
You know what, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Just be one of the greatest singers ever, despite myself.
Yes.
Just wanted to play drums, but no.
Yeah, I think that's very solid advice. Do you have any other advice for people who are wanting to get into being a gigging guitar player?
Just make friends with other musicians doing it. My advice has always been show up on time, in a good mood, and prepared.
Yes.
In that order, but all equally as important as each other.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And yeah, learn the parts. If you're asked to do something,
Yeah.
like learn the songs, because there's nothing worse than showing up at a rehearsal and somebody doesn't know something. You got to stop and teach them, and
Yeah.
it's almost immediate. People will hate you.
Right. I always tell people, like, whether it's like being in getting hired as a side guy, working session stuff, or like working at a gear company, like anything involved in our industry, I feel like the most important thing, yeah, like showing up on time and being able to do the job is important. But how good of a hang are you is the most important thing if you are going to do any sort of traveling or spend any significant amount of time with somebody at all.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to drive with you in a truck to NAM and spend 34 hours, like Luke's a good hang. Like him and I went there and back together, and like
we
Bo went
got
with me. Like
pizza today and everything. It was great.
It was
I
a
bought
good
him
time.
McDonald's last time. I think we were. In
Oh,
town.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will never forget that. I appreciate it. And we watched football. It was awesome.
That's right. We had a great little hang. It was good.
So, like, I have gone to
McDonald's.
NAM with people that we had just hired, and they got in the vehicle with me, and I didn't know what they were like because they worked for us for like a week or two. And like about 6 hours into the trip, I was like, I may have made a mistake here.
Oh dear.
And I'm like,
You know, we got your flight home.
yeah, well, they did.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, that sucks.
You know, one because they were originally scheduled to, like they weren't driving both ways, and the other one I was like, yep, you're flying home, and I'm taking somebody else in the truck. Yeah. So
Wow.
so it's a very
Important.
important, very important, boys and girls.
It is.
Yeah.
We call it like when we started Horseshack, our cover band. We were like, we don't want, we want great players, of course, but nobody who doesn't play well in the sandbox.
Right.
Like we want everybody can figure it out. Like
Yeah.
if we're trying to do something and somebody's slack and somebody that will keep trying to improve and get better at it and get it right eventually, rather than kick them out and get somebody else in here.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we want to be friends first, and
Yes.
like we all get along so great. It's like it's more of a hang than we care about what
Yeah.
we're making or anything like that. It's just like, okay, we got a Horseshack gig right on. We're gonna pile in the van. We're going to Newmarket.
Yeah.
It's like just a great hang the whole time. We just laugh and play songs that we like, and it's like that's pretty much all the bands that I play in. Really, like Big Wreck is just big happy family, and
Yep.
Colin crew is like everybody's amazing at their job, and great people. You're on a bus with 11 other people.
Yes.
90% of the time, you can't be the one being a problem.
No, and like it's fine if you're an introvert, right? Like
Yeah.
you can be an introvert, but like you still got to be a good hang when you're.
Yeah, you can't
you're around
always
people.
be an introvert.
Yeah, yeah.
There's only so much time you can spend in your bunk.
Yes. I've definitely had more than my fair share of guys that have worked with us or worked in like rigging crews and stuff like that, where you're just like, you are not gonna fit in here. And you're not gonna have a good time, and we're not having a great time.
Yeah.
Because of it,
Yeah. And
Like-
it's all because of you.
Exactly. No one needs the fun police here right now.
Yeah.
It's like- so, yeah.
Yeah. Moving
Also,
right
no one needs the guy who gets hammered and can't help.
on. Oh,
Like, you got to learn to be,
you can get hammered just after the work is done.
yes. And you got to make sure that if you're working the next day, that you're ready to work the
Yeah,
next day.
you got to get up and do it. You got to suck it up.
We had this one kid that we took to NAM that like, he was one of the kids who flew home. He didn't drive home.
Oh, really?
And he didn't get fired right away, but he wanted to fit in. So like the first night so what normally happens is we go to NAM and like a couple of us drive down. Normally we'll try to go see some dealers along the way now and like make a do some in-store event type things first. But in the past, we'd often just be like, okay, well, somebody's got to take the truck and trailer with all the shit. And normally that's somebody, at least one of them is me, because it's my truck and trailer.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Keep an eye on this stuff.
so one year, this one dude and I go, and then the rest of the guys fly in the next, like we get to Los Angeles, they fly in the next day. We do our setup. and one of our employees at the time is a dude named Kyle from Florida. Which shout out to Kyle. He's like one of the most fun NAMM guys ever. Anyway, Kyle drinks more than anyone I have ever met in my life, and I've met a lot of people that can drink.
Yeah.
And do you know Paul Yee? Paul is he's the engineer who does all the Bros Lender stuff. Owns Stereo Bus Studios here in Winnipeg.
I don't know a lot of the studio people here.
Anyway, Paul had been around a lot of drinkers and met Kyle and was like, I've never met anyone that can drink as much as this kid. Like, it was astonishing. So Kyle, if you're watching, you've still impressed all of us. He's younger. He's younger than all of us by a decent amount. Like he's.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know if he's 30 yet. He might be.
Not me, but
What's that?
not me.
No, yeah.
But
Sorry.
I love you, Kyle.
Yeah. So anyway, Kyle.
What's Kyle doing? Let's get him.
He's in Florida.
Ah.
Yeah.
I
So
was gonna say Popeye.
he
You got lots of sleeping left, buddy.
he decides he's gonna make gin and tonics for everybody, right? At the house, and I bought like the Costco size bottle of Bombay gin, thinking it'll last us like the week, right? Like it's 60 ounces or whatever, right? And I'm not kidding. Like, he's making gin and tonics where solo cups, it's this much gin and like this much tonic. Like
Right.
it is almost pure gin.
Any ice or straight?
I don't remember, but
I was gonna say that kind of speaks for itself there. If you
Yeah.
don't remember.
Yeah.
So-
Okay, so no ice, we'll say.
so he makes a bunch of us them, and like as soon as you get it and you sniff it, you're like, I immediately
pine
like,
needles.
I'm like, is there any tonic in it? He's like, oh, a splash. I'm like, yeah, okay. So anyway, I have one of his gin and tonics, and there's like 6 of us that have them. And this Alex kid we brought with us says, oh yeah, I'll have one. And anyway, Kyle's like, I'm making another round, and I'm like, nope. Like I gotta be up, and I gotta go get like a big, like 24-foot cargo van tomorrow morning and go pick up a crate of stuff that got shipped in. And I tell Alex, I'm like, hey man, I'm like, you got to be up at 7 with me. He was supposed to be making breakfast for everybody. I'm like, you got to make breakfast, and then like we got to go get the truck and go get the crate, and then we'll meet everybody else to do loading. I'm like, so like take it easy, right? Anyway, he has a second one, and I'm like, okay. Next morning I get up, he's not up, and like I make breakfast, and then I go and I wake him up. I'm like, yo man, we got to go, right? So. And then we get in the van, and I'm like, we'll stop at Starbucks. And I look at him, and he's going to throw up. He just looks horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you not feeling good, buddy? He's like, no. And I'm not a morning person, but the NAMM show is one of those things where it's like, this is the best thing ever. So, I'm like, yeah, let's go. And anyway, so I'm like, well, we'll go to Starbucks. We'll get you a coffee and a water. I'm like, drink the water first, and then get a coffee and help you, sober up a little bit. Anyway, go to Starbucks, and he orders like a grande white mocha, and I'm like, as soon as he says, I'm like, hold on a second. I'm like, don't do that. I'm like, that is, you're going straight to throw up town with that. And he's like, no, I'll be fine. I'm like, all right. So he gets it, and like I'm driving this like 5-ton truck, and I'm just like bouncing around. I'm like, woohoo, it's NAMM time. And he just looks so sick, and I'm like, dude, what's the matter? And he's like, well, I had like 2 of Kyle's drinks. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, why? I'm like, I had 1 and was like, no more. And he's like, yeah, but he's like, you can drink. And I'm like, well, I don't really drink very much. And he's like, I never drink. And I'm like, you never drink at all? He's like, no. Like, he's like, I smoke weed. I don't drink at all. And I'm like, well, then why did you have 2? I'm like, you had 12 shots of
Yeah, for your first time.
yeah, for your first
drinking?
time. So anyway, we make it 30 minutes. He frantically rolls the window down, throws up all over the side of the road and all over the side of the truck. I am just pissing myself laughing. And then we pick up our crate. We go and we meet the rest of the guys at Home Depot. One of the other guys who also was drinking with them, I take one look at him. I'm like, all right, Alex, Scott, you guys go back to the house, go to sleep. I'm like, and lesson for you, you will never be invited to the NAMM show if you guys do this again this weekend. I'm like, you have to be ready to work in the mornings. Otherwise, which was, I think, I don't even know if I said that to Scott as much as I did to Alex. That it was like, you're here to work. You can't do this. So lesson for all of you that if you're, I mean, it's pretty unspoken, but when you get to go out into a place where it is a job where there is a lot of opportunity for drinks and partying once the work is done for the day, you got to make sure that you're in shape the next day.
You got to make it the next day.
And if your day, like,
and if you're hurting, you can't let it affect anything.
You can't let anyone see it.
You need to plow through, man.
Yeah. And probably a little easier.
Get it together, man.
I was gonna say, probably a little easier if you're the guitar player because you might not have to be awake until noon. If you're on the setup crew, your day starts at 7 a.m.
I don't know if anybody on the tour is watching right now. They are laughing their butts off about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a late guy.
Are you?
I roll out of bed as late as possible.
Nice.
I call it's like time travel. I was saying to Luke, it's like if you go to bed in one city and then wake up in another, it's the closest thing to time travel as you'll ever experience.
Yeah.
I don't really feel the road, and then it's
Nice.
like, oh, okay. Wake up an hour before sound check, grab some food and a coffee, and
What time's sound check?
usually 3 or 4.
Okay. Then,
Yeah.
see, if you're in Chris's position, then
Bring it on. Come on by.
Yeah, then you can go hard because you only have to get up at about 1 or 2 p.m. is safe.
Oh yeah.
Where?
What can I say? I like to party.
Yeah. It's a good gig if you got it. If you're with us, your
Yeah.
day starts at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So,
But it's usually a crewman that is up with me till the end.
oh, I know.
Generally.
I've done.
I wonder sometimes if they just rotate. It's like, all right, who's staying up with Chris tonight?
They're like somebody's babysitting them tonight.
Yeah,
Make sure,
like, I don't need babysitting,
yeah.
but like, I don't know.
Let's make sure he doesn't go off the rails
Yeah,
too
no.
much, or that we keep it.
Yeah.
We keep it contained to this area. Yeah, I mean, at festivals.
Like I said, it's all Coors Lights and
Yeah.
a shot here and there.
At festivals, we get the same thing where we get guys that, the day ends at, load out ends at midnight or 1 o'clock and they'll start drinking then.
Mm-hmm.
And calls at 7 a.m. And there's some of them that, 7 a.m. they're, they look a little rough until they get their coffee. And as soon as they have their coffee, no, they're totally good. And they'll work like, I mean, what your crew guys are like. They're doing 16-hour days minimum every day.
Yeah.
And
They work way harder than we do.
there's not a lot of time.
Clearly.
Like, there's often, hopes that like, oh yeah, I'll grab a nap in the afternoon. You're not going to. Like,
Pretty much never.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen.
Not a thing.
So they,
And dinner, like even going out for dinner most of the time.
Yeah.
You guys are just like, I can't do it. Like, all right.
yeah, oh yeah. Well, depends on what the gig is, or
But that's usually
on
the,
days
like,
off.
nap time.
Oh yeah,
I'd say for
Yeah.
tour and roadmen. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I was fine with it in my 20s and 30s, and now in my 40s, I feel it a lot more when I'm like, oh, I'm going to be up till 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I'm going to get up. Like today, last night I worked late because I had to take today off because our babysitter for our kids was out of town. So my wife works on Wednesdays, so I had to take my kids to their like swimming lesson thing and hang out with my kids. And I worked late last night. Like I went to bed just after 4 a.m. My kids woke me up just before 9. And I got out of bed at 9. I was like, all right, I'm up. I'm not happy about it, but I'm up. Had a shower. And then I was like, okay, I gotta have a nap at some point today. I'm not gonna make it till the end of the live stream if I don't. So
Right.
at like 3:30. I texted Luke. I'm like, okay, and I texted you. I'm like,
Right.
here you, okay, Chris and Luke.
Right. Luke's picking you up.
Luke's picking you up, and like, I'll see you guys later, and I'll order pizza. And then I set my alarm for 40 minutes, and then when 40 minutes came, I woke up, and Joey called me like or texted me a bunch of stuff, and I was like reading it. And you ever have that moment like when you just wake up and you're like reading something, and you're like, my brain doesn't understand what this means right now.
Yeah, you're still
So-
like in a dream
Yeah.
somewhere. Like this doesn't make any sense.
So I called him and I'm just like, hey man, I just want to go over a couple things about the next few days, and he's like, yeah, that's what I was texting you about. I'm like, yeah, I'm not really awake yet. I just got up from a nap, and I don't normally get to have a nap during the day, but I'm at the point where I'm like, if I only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, I can't do it anymore. Where I used to be able to go,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
that
get generally 8 hours sleep,
was nice.
and sometimes a nap on top of that. I don't have kids.
I'm the wrong gig.
Yeah,
I'm the
it's
wrong
weird.
gig.
My wife and I are not have kids, but we got to get up to walk the dog. That's about it.
I have 4, so
4 dogs.
no 4
Oh,
kids.
4 kids.
No dogs.
No
Oh no,
dogs.
I'd lose my mind if I had dogs too. Like at least the kids will sleep till normally at least 8 or 9
yeah.
a.m. Yeah.
4 kids. Jeez.
Yeah. So it's busy. Anyway, I said we were gonna go 35 minutes ago, and we just keep yakking.
That's
so,
awesome.
Thanks everybody for coming and hanging out tonight, and Chris, thanks for coming as always.
Thanks for having me.
Always a blast whenever you're in town to get a chance to hang out and
Yeah.
have a few beers and talk about fun stuff. We didn't even talk about your Callings, which is a killer single cut guitar. I'm sorry, double cut guitar.
Double cut, yeah.
Junior style. Yeah, if you guys don't know Callings guitars, you need to.
Yeah.
Great
it's
stuff.
Super nice.
But
It's my slide machine most of the time, so
yeah,
yeah.
it'll have to be the next time you come into town that we show everybody that. But
Sure.
all right, we're gonna get out of here because I got a bit more work to do tonight. I got an early morning tomorrow. So,
All right.
and Chris is gonna have to take, or Luke's gonna have to take Chris back and apparently hang out with them till about 3 or 4 in the morning before it gets shut down.
I mean,
Oh boy.
I mean, if he wants to.
Yeah, it's the way it goes. All right, guys.
All right.
I love you,
Thank you
Chris.
guys so much, and yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one.